So come on and diggity check yourself before you wreck yourself. Yeah. come on and take it check yourself before you wreck yourself. Take it check yourself before you wreck yourself. Come on, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Check. Yeah. Check.
Watch out now.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Julius Randle will get season-ending shoulder surgery. The 76ers are very interested in Paul George if he hits free agency. Hopefully not. And LaVar Ball blames bad conditioning and certain shoe brands on affecting his son's injuries. And much, much more here on the Sports Loudmouth. Doc Rivers is going to have Damian Lillard run very fast out of town. Does he help them win? You're under 500. Aaron Judge helps the Yankees win. You're paying the player $300 million. You better be sure that guy's going to help you get over the hump. For some reason, this guy is completely lost on calling plays. Maybe he's a therapist. Did you see Lamar Jackson cry to the referee? No, he didn't. We are back for a new show of the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey. Remember, you can listen to us every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. with me, Speedy Petey, and Sean Smith every single week. All you have to do to check out our local listings for all our shows, go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Call us at 631-672-3108 is the number to call. Yes, Jeff, you're more than welcome to call. Just wait until we're ready to get you on the show.
And no cursing.
No cursing. Please stay away from the cursing. I don't want to get scared. I don't want to get anybody scared. There could be kids listening to the show, ladies and gentlemen, as we all learned on Josh Silverberg's show.
Oh, yeah. There's plenty of kids listening to Josh Silverberg's show. And
yes.
I don't know if Jeff will be calling there for a while at the rate he's going at. But
Well, I don't think they're going to be calling if I'm on the show either. After what I said.
I don't know about
I mean,
that.
I probably scared every single little kid from, here in Guam, all the way to Guam or England or Jersey. Jersey's not that far. It's a couple miles away.
I don't know how many kids there would be in Guam, but
what are you talking about? It's a big country right there.
I mean, yeah,
A starving country.
That's a different story.
Speedy,
but
we should send you there and send your mom there. I think she should help out. We could feed many different children over there.
Okay.
Good for you.
Okay, I would gladly help that cause. I don't know if she would want to go to Guam. Okay.
Well, I think we need another wonderful soundbite right over there. Here we go.
Stopping you from doing it?
That's a good one.
Anyways, we have a great show lined up for you guys at 8:30. We'll be talking to 6-year NHL goaltender and Arizona State goalie coach Eddie Lack. He's been on our show before.
Mhm.
I think also, if I'm not mistaken, he's doing real estate too.
Real estate, yes.
Yeah, I wonder how he's
In
doing now.
Arizona, yep.
I mean, when we had him on the show, it was during COVID. So I think he was making a significant amount of no money because of everything that was going on.
I
over there.
remember the last time he was on, he was talking about like one of these like big houses that had this like giant water slide or something like that.
Yeah, he sells a lot of houses over there in Arizona. It's a beautiful city, by the way. I don't know if anybody's been to Arizona. It is fantastic. It's a great place to just relax, and it's a great partying town. If you go to Arizona State over there, right by the college, I am telling you guys, that whole strip of college bars and clubs is fantastic. I DJ'd there years and years ago. It was fantastic then, and it's probably a little bit worse than it was then because obviously clubs and bars are not the same, but it's still beautiful. I was out there. I think I was out there 2 years ago. It was fantastic. It's always a good place to visit. I don't know if I would ever live there. At 9:30, we'll be talking to Chat Sports Steelers and NFL analyst Jack Sperry, right? I think I got it right there.
Yeah.
And this is the first time he's been on a show.
Yeah.
And he obviously, you could follow on his YouTube channel. His page is Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. So he will be on the show for the first time. I reached out and I told Speedy that I want to get a lot of these YouTubers on our show. And Speedy is reaching out to them, and they're so gracious. This guy will be the first one on our show. Last week we were supposed to have Mike on the show.
Yep.
Right? Am I right? Is his name Mike?
Well, his real name is Sean. His last name is Michaels, and he goes by NFL Mike. So
yeah, we were supposed to have him on the show, and he never showed up. I don't understand.
Responded to me this week either. So.
I think he got scared. I think he got very scared. It's okay, Mike. It's okay. Whatever your name is, Shawn Michaels. I mean, I did love Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, the Rockers. But no, I thank you, Mike. Anyways, Julius Randle will get season-ending shoulder surgery and could be out for the beginning of next season too. So this is a serious injury. I'm very surprised that the Knicks just didn't give him the surgery 2 months ago. Obviously, his shoulder was in a significant pain, and I don't understand why the Knicks didn't push forward on this. Now you're probably going to miss him probably about 10 or 15 games of the season next year. So we will get into that. The 76ers are very interested in Paul George if he hits free agency. Very interesting story. I don't know why we're going to talk about it, but hey, it is definitely a story for the NBA. Are Steve Kerr and Steph Curry getting frustrated with Draymond Green? I've been getting frustrated with Draymond Green over the last 5 years. So the surprise is they're finally opening their eyes that this guy's out of his damn mind. So we will get into that. LeVar Ball blames bad conditioning and certain shoe brands for his son's major injuries. We spoke about it late in the show yesterday.
Yeah. And there's more.
There's a lot more. Rich Cimini says that the Jets are very interested in trading back in the first round, which Josh were speaking about it today. It's a very interesting argument on why the Jets. My argument is, why would the Jets trade down when they can land one of those pieces that can get them over the hump and possibly give them an opportunity to win a Super Bowl this year? So we will get into that. Scott Boras says that Juan Soto will get no less than $500 million and wants him to make $70 million per year like Ohtani. Very interesting story, and we will get into that. As that was another story me and Josh were talking about today, which is interesting. And let's parlay, ladies and gentlemen. And who do we have on the show?
As of right now, just Reno Johnny at the moment, maybe Chaz.
I know Wes is in Chicago.
Wes was in Chicago. Derek said he couldn't make it tonight.
Oh, well, Derek is a busy man. He's got a girlfriend, a 6'4" giant, needs to hang out with girly poo. Anyways, Woj reports that Julius Randle will undergo season-ending surgery on his right shoulder. Randle dislocated his shoulder on January 27th against the Miami Heat, and the doctors say there was still instability during the rehab process. Doctors also said that Randle could have permanent damage to his shoulder if he continues to play through the injury and the playoffs. Randle's surgery is likely to keep him away from basketball until September, maybe longer. Randle was averaging 24 points per game, 9.2 rebounds per game, and 5 assists per game this season. Randle has one more year left on his contract worth about $27.5 million, and then a player option the following year for $29.4 million. First of all, being that he has a dislocated shoulder, why is he practicing with Carmelo Anthony? That's my question that I would love to ask the New York Knicks. I would love to ask Tom Thibodeau, as Carmelo Anthony and Julius Randle posted it up about a month ago that they were practicing and shooting the ball and playing one-on-one basketball. I don't know why Julius Randle is practicing on a basketball court with Carmelo Anthony when he has an injured shoulder like this. So that's my question, and that's what I want to ask Leon Rose and Tom Thibodeau on why he's practicing if he is not playing in basketball games. That's just one of my questions. But you sit here today, are you surprised that Julius Randle will not be ready or will not be playing in this year's playoff? No. And there's a lot of reasons why. And Julius Randle is not a good playoff player. If you look at his average in the playoffs the last 2 seasons with the New York Knicks, they're under 10 points of his season scoring numbers, okay? Over the last 2 years, Julius Randle has been averaging almost 25 to 26 points a game in the regular season. In the playoffs, he's averaging under 15, okay? That is not going to cut it. Now, I understand Julius Randle over the last 2 years has not been healthy going to the playoffs. Guess what? When you get into the playoffs and when you have a long 82-game season, you're going to be hurt. You're not going to be 100% healthy. So I understand why Julius Randle was not healthy the last 2 seasons. And I'm not expecting Julius Randle to play with a dislocated shoulder. And now he needs shoulder surgery. And if he continued playing, it could be permanent damage. And he is only 30, 31 years old. He expects another big contract. If it's not from the Knicks, it'll be from another organization. But to me, if you're a Knicks fan, you can't be happy. And the reason why is the Knicks were on a tear with Julius Randle, OG Anunoby, and Jalen Brunson 100% healthy in the lineup. If you look at their record, when Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, and Julius Randle are in the game, in the lineup, they are 13-2 together. All of them. All 3 of them. And I understand it. If you're a Knicks fan, you're watching Dante DiVincenzo. He's been fantastic. He's taken over some of the slack that they lost after losing a guy like Julius Randle for the last 2 months. And you love what Hart has been doing. I love his personality. I watch their show. I watch their podcast. It's fantastic. Him and Jalen Brunson are funny as hell. And I love Hart. I think he really brings a leadership role that the Knicks need. And also, when the Knicks traded for Josh Hart, he gives them that grunting toughness that the Knicks have not had since the 94-95 seasons with Pat Riley and Charles Oakley and Anthony Mason. He's that tough guy, and he's going to fight for the ball. He's going to go up for those rebounds and really put his body on the line. That's something that you want to see. But you hear this story, Wojnarowski comes out with it today, and I'm not excited because it's 7 games left of the season. And the Knicks are fighting for that 4th spot. And I think they're in very good position to get that 4th spot because I don't want them I don't want them to have the 3rd spot. I don't want them to have the 2nd spot, even though they would have to play the Celtics in the 2nd round if they get the 4th spot and they move on. I would rather that than be the 2nd seed where you're going to be, I would believe, compared and probably matched up with teams like the Cavaliers in the 2nd round, who obviously lost against the New York Knicks last year in the 1st round. So they have them on their board if they play them, and the 76ers. Joel Embiid has been sitting out all season. He's getting healthy now. I do not want to play the 76ers in the second round. And everybody's going to say, why would you want to play the Celtics? They're playing great basketball. They're going to win 60 games this year. And I'm going to tell you why. This season, the Knicks have matched up very well against the Boston Celtics. Even without Julius Randle, they've matched up very well against them. And the reason why is the Knicks have perimeter defenders now. Yep. That's why. Dante DiVincenzo, if OG Anunoby, and that's the most important thing right now, if OG will be ready for the playoffs. Because if the Knicks have OG Anunoby and they have Dante DiVincenzo and they have that kind of defense on the perimeter, what does that do against teams that are very good on the outside shooting threes? They got to get inside. And then you have guys like Mitchell Robinson that will be playing in the playoffs, a shot blocking guy, a guy that's an offensive rebounding machine. And then you have Hartenstein, who's been fantastic all season on the rebounds, on the defensive boards and the offensive boards. And that to me is what sticks out. I understand losing Julius Randle it's heartbreaking if you're a New York Knicks fan. It is, because people thought that if they had Julius Randle and OG Anunoby and the Knicks were at least 85% healthy, they'd be able to compete against the best teams in the NBA. Teams like the Celtics, like the Denver Nuggets, like those teams in the Western Conference. But the Knicks cannot worry about the West right now. They have to worry about the East. They have to play Miami if they match up against Miami. You do not want to play Miami in the second round either. And I would rather play the Celtics than the Miami Heat in the second round as well, because of Spoelstra. And he knows how to take out your best player and make that team beat you with their third and fourth best player. And that's what Spoelstra does so well as a coach and as a defensive-minded coach. So I understand Knicks fans are not happy about this. I understand why it doesn't make any sense on why Julius Randle was practicing and shooting baskets with Carmelo Anthony about a month ago after dislocating his shoulder. It makes no sense. And why they just didn't go through with the surgery already. I think they should have done that 2 months ago, because then he'd be ready during the summer and get ready to warm up for next year. He still has another year left on his contract, and then he has a player option. So he could be a Knick for the next 2 seasons.
And you also look at the trade deadline impact on what the Knicks had to construct in planning for Julius Randle potentially not being able to be the same player, or in this case, not being able to come back at all. And he's now not going to be able to come back at all. You were talking about it, the doctor was even saying like that can't even move the shoulder for a while, or it could be something really bad. Like that kind of thing they had to prepare for with combined production on the offensive side. And they've gotten that now with how Miles McBride has played, how Josh Hart has played in the second half of the season, and the wing players they brought in getting more depth. Now, some of it's obviously been hurt with Bogdanovich and OG Anunoby, and Jalen Brunson's had some injury issues in the second half of the season, but they still have gotten the combined team offense production, which it has not set them back. They haven't had to rely on their defense because of that. Now, they were at one point the 2 seed, they fell it off to the 4, okay, but they're also at one point the 6 seed or the 7 seed at certain points, and they've risen back up to the 4, overcoming the injuries well. So the Knicks are still very well built for this, and Leon Rose deserves a lot of credit. Now, Tom Thibodeau, again, maybe accumulating over the years, wearing Julius Randle out, could that have affected it at this point? Yeah, it's definitely possible, especially with all the injuries towards the end of the year, but definitely concerning with Thibodeau the way he's wearing other players too.
I don't think the Knicks are a favorite to come out of the East, okay? No. I think that the Knicks could make the Eastern Conference Finals. If everything falls together, the Knicks could be an Eastern Conference Finals team. But obviously, if they fall in the 4th spot or the 5th spot, they're going to have to play the Celtics probably in the second round, and it's going to be a tough game, a tough series. And I believe it could go 6 or 7. And the Knicks do match up very well against the Celtics. But again, when you look at the Knicks and the potential that they've had all season long and what they're getting off their bench, and I understand Bogdanovich has not been good for the Knicks. He really hasn't. Since he's been traded to the Knicks at the trade deadline, Bogdanovich coming off the bench is not giving him much of anything. I think he's averaging about 7 points a game. That's not enough. And if you lose Julius Randle, and you are losing Julius Randle for the rest of the playoffs, you're going to have to get Bogdanovich more involved in these games. You're going to have to do that because they need more offense off the bench, because you're losing about 25, 26 points. Now, right. Dante DiVincenzo is giving them points, but is he going to do that consistently throughout the playoffs? I don't know. And Josh Hart's been fantastic too. He's been everything that the Knicks needed off the boards. He's giving you between 12 and 13 points a game, especially since Julius Randle's been out. So there's a lot of questions with the Knicks and how are they going to run this first team? That's what they're going to, the first set of, their starting lineup, because over the last couple of weeks, we've seen a different starting lineup with the New York Knicks at least 6 or 7 times. So how does this work going into the playoffs?
Yeah, that's the one thing I would give Tom Thibodeau a lot of credit for. We were talking about it last week with him getting a contract extension. I think he's been much better at managing more creativity and not just sticking to all of his old ways. And I think that's helped the Knicks elevate themselves amidst all these injuries in the second half of the season. And for the playoffs, so you got to look at the coaching matchups that the Knicks might endure. Like you mentioned, Spoelstra and the Sixers with Nick Nurse, maybe, but like there's no obvious coaching advantage for the Celtics. There's a talent advantage, and the Bucks, Doc Rivers. We're going to expect Doc Rivers to work out in the playoffs. J.B. Bickerstaff did not coach well for Cleveland last year. So I think the Knicks have a coaching advantage in a lot of these matchups. And while Julius Randle is going to give him the volume on offense, we've seen also really bad inefficiency at certain points from him in the playoffs. So maybe those combined scorers with DiVincenzo, with Hart, as long as they don't shoot a lot of bad shots, are still going to provide that combined effect if they're managed properly and they manage well with their all on.
Right now, if the season were to end, the Knicks would be playing Miami in the first round. I'm sorry, not Miami, the Magic in the first round. And Orlando has played very well against the Knicks this year.
Yeah.
And this is a team, a Magic team that's very, very young, very good rebounding team, and they could shoot the three. And that's the thing. When the Knicks are getting matched up against teams that could shoot the three, the Knicks this season have been a very good three-point shooting team. But over the years, especially during the playoffs last year, the Cleveland Cavaliers absolutely out three-point shoot them throughout that series. The reason why they lost that series is because the Knicks are one of the best rebounding teams in the league. Now you have a guy like Mitchell Robinson back and Hartenstein. Do they play that dual center threat? Do they play Hartenstein and a guy like Mitchell Robinson during certain parts of the game? I think that would benefit the New York Knicks against those smaller teams. The Magic are a bigger team, a very big, young team. So the Knicks could be doing that, and they could go up and down the court. Mitchell Robinson's a very good, very athletic big man. So is Hartenstein. Believe it or not, he's been very athletic this year. He's been very impressive the way he's been going up and down the court this year. So I'm interested to see how Thibodeau is going to run his offense and run his defense.
Yeah, the Magic have two of the more modern day power forward types with Banchero and with Franz Wagner that are also very good shooters. And the Knicks bringing in Precious Achiuwa, bringing in Hartenstein last year the way they did, and just the growth of his game could definitely help out on the defense when he's
been fantastic this year.
Yeah,
I honestly, since that trade, if you look at that trade what the Knicks had and adding OG Anunoby, who would have thought that he would have been as big of a move as OG Anunoby?
Oh yeah. And again, I also look at even other matchups that they have too. Like the Cavs, they're going to need size to do that. The 76ers, Joel Embiid, they're going to need size to make that work. And they have the ability to maneuver so many different positions. It's not even as much like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 thing anymore, as much as it is more matchup dependent with the way that Thibodeau has played his defense with these wings and also with these now power forward, small forward hybrids. And with Julius Randle, who's taken on the brunt of the minutes and brunt of the possessions as that 4, they're going to have to be more creative and trying to find those matchups to exploit, because they definitely have, even though they might not have the talent advantage with the star power on the Celtics starting 5 is very good, they still have a coaching advantage. Mazzulla has not been amazing all the time, and Thibodeau has been great this year.
Draymond Green was ejected for the 4th time this season, and Stephen Curry and Steve Kerr have had recent frustrations with Draymond Green. After being ejected in the first quarter versus the Magic last week, many fans thought that Curry was crying on the sidelines. Curry and Green have had their issues in the locker room after Draymond Green got suspended for 2 separate occasions against the Suns and the Jazz this season. Steve Kerr also attacked Draymond, saying that he deserves the ejection and called it unforgivable. ESPN's Jay Williams said that Green has been putting the Warriors' fate in jeopardy with his behavior, but also called out Stephen Curry for his lack of leadership in managing him. The Warriors hold the last playoff spot in the Western Conference at 41-34. By the way, I have been very impressed with the Warriors in the second half of the season because they were under 500 practically half of the season. The first half of the season, they were fighting being 500 or less. They have not been a good team all season long. Now, in the second half, we've seen just Steph Curry taking over. He's shooting a three-point clip. I mean, he's been unbelievable. They're getting points from Klay Thompson finally. They're getting points off the bench. And they're a different team this year. Now, Steve Kerr got an extension. I did not like the extension by the Golden State Warriors. And I'm not taking shots at Steve Kerr. I think he's a decent coach. Steve Kerr took this job because you had these guys in the prime of their career. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green in the prime of their career. And that's why he won all those championships. And then they added Kevin Durant to the mix. And that's why they were absolutely unbeatable for those 2 seasons. But when you look at the team and what this team has been going through over the last couple of years, especially all the stuff that Draymond Green has done, not only is it disrespectful to the team and the coaching staff, it's really disrespectful to the fans. And he has gone out there week in and week out and has gotten in trouble many different times for many different issues. And the one that really stuck out this year was Rudy Gobert. When he choked out Rudy Gobert and put him in a rear naked chokehold and then said that he wasn't trying to choke him out. I mean, to me, you would have to be oblivious to see what he has been doing on the court and how significant it's affected his team throughout these games. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Golden State is dangerous no matter when or where they land in a playoff spot. And the reason why is you have Steph Curry, and Steph Curry is dangerous. And the league, everybody knows in the league, once it goes into the playoffs, it becomes a half-court game. And what do you do in a half-court game? You jack up threes. Who's the best three-point shooter in the NBA? Steph Curry. So this is why nobody wants to play the Warriors in the first round if they get into the playoff round. So you sit here and you wonder the position that Steve Kerr is in. You see what Steph Curry and the position he's in as the leader of this team and what they have structured this team around between what Klay Thompson is now as a player, which is not much, what Steph Curry is because he's the only damn good player on this team. And then you have Draymond Green who can't keep his hands off his own players, off the other team's players. So there's a lot of problems going on in this locker room that we did not expect to happen as quick as it has.
Yeah, and also go back to the Jordan Poole incident last year, which started the whole questionable things in the playoffs with Steve Kerr, with Jordan Poole, and Draymond Green. It all was connecting at that point. Even though they won a playoff series last year against the Kings, you really never felt like this was the same Warriors dominance of the past either. And it was only going to come to the point where Draymond Green, who was he was disliked by the rest of the league and hated by so many fans, was always supported by his teammates. And this was the breaking point of whether his teammates would not support him anymore. And now you're seeing it with Steph Curry, who is trying to lead this team with a lot of other youngsters.
Why would you give him an extension? Why would the organization give him a 4-year extension if you know he's breaking down, if you know he's not the same player he once was? Now, obviously, we all know what he's done on social media. We all know what he does on his podcast. We all know what he does on the court. We all know what he says off the court about certain players. He has been an absolute joke. He has been everything you don't want from a player. And he's putting the Golden State Warriors right centerfold into the NBA's problem. He's the NBA problem child. If you look at over the years, there's always been a problem child every decade, okay? And the NBA, this 10-year of a decade has been Draymond Green. It's been Draymond Green. And if you go 10 years before that, you can argue it was Zach Randolph or one of those guys, or before Dennis Rodman and Bill Laimbeer, one of those guys. So if you go through the league and over the last couple of years and the problems that the NBA has had, and I'm not saying it's bad to be a bad guy, because what does it do for the NBA? It does a lot for the NBA. It puts that thought that it's become like, when Draymond Green's on the court, it feels like it's a wrestling match. It's not a basketball game. It's the worldwide wrestling, fighting, it's Vince McMahon out there, trying to promote it. It's been an absolute joke.
And again, that kind of thing can work if you're still providing value on the basketball court and still providing value with your own leadership, which Draymond Green seemed to be doing even amidst all those other antics he's had throughout his career, because his teammates, the Warriors teammates and the coaching staff always supported him, and he was still being valuable on the court. Now, Draymond is still one of the better defenders on the Warriors team right now. So,
what's that saying?
Yeah, and the Warriors, when they went cold with Draymond being suspended, like that's where it hurt the most. But right, that's what you're saying is they haven't been able to develop young guys as a result. They haven't been able to, because they're trying to stick this team the one way. That's why James Wiseman didn't develop. That's why you're hearing a lot of these other guys that did not get enough minutes hurting their development.
They had to trade Jordan Poole because of Draymond Green. That's the truth.
Yep.
Everybody wants to know why Jordan Poole is no longer on the Warriors. Well, the reason why is because Draymond Green couldn't stand him. They were fighting at practice, they were fighting in the locker room, and they weren't getting along. So what did they have to do in the offseason? They had to trade their one good young player that they were building their team around when Steph Curry and Klay Thompson decides to part ways either with the team or retire.
And again, when Draymond got the 4-year extension, it definitely showed that the other teams didn't value that kind of quote-unquote instigator the same way that a team like the Warriors did. Now, obviously, there could be another one that's coming up for this generation. It looks like it's going to be Dylan Brooks at this point. But again, maybe it's somebody else that emerges as that new guy too. But that's why they did not get the value that they wanted when Draymond Green was getting hurt. He was starting his decline at the end of his contract. Then he gets the 4-year extension. And it was just only a matter of time of when both the basketball aspect and the bad boy aspect would come together to hurt it more.
And I'm reading what Keith is saying, and he says Jordan Poole sucks. When Jordan Poole was good on Golden State and they gave him a $130 million extension, everybody thought he was going to take over for Steph Curry when he decides to part ways, he gets traded, or he retires. Now, what Jordan Poole is now with Washington, obviously, he's not the same player he was for his first 2 seasons when he was over there filling in for Steph Curry when he was injured. He was fantastic. Jordan Poole, he earned that $130-something million contract. And when he got it, the next year, everything started to tip over. Everything started to fall apart. And what did they have to do in the offseason because of Draymond Green? Move him. And I'm going to say this about Jordan Poole. Is he a superstar player? No. But he's a guy right now on Washington. It's averaging 17 points a game, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, and he's averaging field goal percentages over 41%. So he's not a bad player, but he could have been a much different player on the Golden State Warriors if Draymond Green didn't step in and be the idiot that he is.
Yep. And Jordan Poole was kind of supposed to take over as a predominant minutes guy as well. Like, even though he wouldn't be in the starting lineup if Steph Curry and Klay Thompson were both healthy, he was still playing just as many minutes throughout that 2021-2022 season. When Steph Curry was hurt the beginning of that postseason, Jordan Poole had some big games in those first 2 playoff matchups. And he had, I think, one good one in the finals, too. He had that one really dud game in the finals.
He was fantastic in the finals.
Yeah, he was probably the 3rd best player in the finals after Steph Curry, and I would say Andrew Wiggins was probably 2nd, and Jordan Poole was 3rd. But again, that kind of thing is still something that the Warriors couldn't accept just because, you have to have Draymond Green on this team, and Draymond Green and Jordan Poole didn't get along. Like, you're going to have your core to your team, and maybe the fans embrace it to an extent, but even Warriors fans are starting to turn on Draymond Green now this year, which you never saw that before. That they always defended him in the past, but even this year, they're like, go get anger management. Go step away from the game for a while until you get your head on straight.
James Wiseman was supposed to be a top prospect. I don't know if anybody remembers. Some people thought he was the number 1 pick in that draft class.
Yep.
He fell to number 3. The Warriors somehow got the number 3 pick, and everybody says, this is going to make this team one of the best teams for the next 10 years. And what did they have? They had a player that barely played and didn't get along with Draymond Green in the locker room. As a matter of fact, they put him next to Draymond Green's locker, and then within a year, he asked the coaching staff that if they can move his locker away from Draymond Green. So he wasn't getting along with Draymond Green either. And this is a big problem because how many young players are going to want to go and play over there with Golden State, even though Steph Curry's there and Klay Thompson? By the way, Klay Thompson's no better either. He's a big mouth guy that's opened his mouth many, many different times and many different occasions over the last couple of years. And he's no longer the same player he once was after he tore his Achilles and tore his ACL. So I don't know why he's speaking, but James Wiseman, he's not going to be the same player that some people thought he was going to be, maybe because of what Golden State did to him and how they developed him. They didn't develop him the right way. This has been a big problem. A lot of these young players, they come into the league and they don't really get any time on the court because either a star doesn't like to play with him, or they don't think he fits the offense. And Draymond Green was one of the main reasons why James Wiseman never got a chance to play on the court.
Yeah, they've also had trouble with role players in addition to that, because outside of Wiggins, there really hasn't been like that contribution bench player that you saw with the Warriors when they had their run of all the championships. They still had the Iguodala's. They still had the Sean Livingston.
Yep.
Like, where are those guys now? You know who was one of those guys last year for the Warriors that barely got any playing time? Dante DiVincenzo. And now he's striving with the Knicks this year. And even some of the other young guys, the Warriors fans are wanting more minutes out of guys like Kuminga. Moses Moody was a great college shooter. It's like almost 20 points per game scorer. Like, he could have been another Jordan Poole too. He's barely seeing any playing time. And you mentioned Wiseman specifically. Wiseman he was my number 1 pick in that draft. I thought he was going to be this modern big man that could do a lot of different things.
Athletic, can go up and down the court, rebound, assist, do everything.
And it seemed like Draymond Green was supposed to be the guy, he's going to have to mentor him because he's this great defender. He's the power forward, even though he's undersized compared to Wiseman. Like, that's a guy to grow your game on, to grow your defensive game on. And Draymond Green just was the opposite because he's just a bit massive ego. And the Warriors are kind of stuck where they want to keep the fans happy with their egos, but at the same time, they haven't developed a good product besides the one championship.
The problem with Draymond Green is he terrorizes people. That's what he does. I don't know if anybody's checked out his podcast. It's actually pretty funny, but he doesn't know what he's talking about half the time. So he goes on these rants that make absolutely no sense. And then he brings up NFL players, basketball players, people that he knows, and he throws them under the bus. And that's the funny part of his show. And I don't know what he does on and off the court, but if I was Steph Curry and I was Klay Thompson, or I was Steve Kerr right now, I wouldn't be happy, and I would be telling him to keep his mouth shut. Don't go on your podcast during the season because you're causing more problems than you can handle. And that's the big problem right now with Draymond Green. When he has social media, he has the market to open his mouth and say the things that he says. He causes more mischief and more problems to the organization.
And you have a soft-spoken coach in Steve Kerr for the most part. Yeah, he'll say some things about like the world and politics and stuff like that, but he's pretty soft-spoken on his players for the most part. You even have him saying he deserved to be ejected from the game. I don't know what that says at this point.
It says a lot about who Draymond Green is as a player.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm going to say this as a Knicks fan. For years. And I interviewed Charles Oakley just recently. And Charles Oakley, he was an enforcer for the New York Knicks. Anybody put their hands on Patrick Ewing, they were going to feel Charles Oakley's elbow or his fist. He didn't give a crap. He would make you know, or he'd let you know that he was in the middle, and he was going to make sure that you felt the pain of Oak. And even when he played with Chicago, he was the enforcer for Michael Jordan. That's why him and Michael Jordan were so very close. And when I interviewed Charles Oakley and I asked him, what did you think about the game? What do you think about the game? And the transition of the game, he says, it's a completely different game. And he says, you know, Draymond, and this is something that I spoke to him off the set after the interview. And I asked him, well, what do you think about Draymond Green? He says, Draymond Green is an enforcer. That's what he is. And that's what he does. And he instigates problems, not only for to help his team, but he causes problems to hurt his team as the season moves forward. And when you go into the playoffs, as we've seen Draymond Green over the years, Draymond Green has cost the Golden State Warriors certain games and certain series because of the stupidity that he has been on the basketball court. So
probably shouldn't have been in the finals in 2016 when he kicked Steven Adams.
Oh yeah, I remember
they could have
that.
suspended him in that series.
How about when he stepped on LeBron James's you-know-what?
Yeah, and the Warriors probably shouldn't have even been there because the Thunder were up 3-1, and he should have been suspended after that game 3. And then OKC probably wins that series then. So that kind of thing never happens at that point.
LeVar Ball told CBS Sports that he blames major injuries to his sons on the NBA and on NBA conditioning and raggedy shoes. He mentioned the conditioning is too much of a lightweight workout and not as much with strength and muscle workouts. He mentioned shoe companies like Puma for making shoes that have caused LaMelo Ball to injure his ankles for many different occasions. The Hornets just shut down LaMelo Ball for the rest of the season, while Lonzo hasn't played in the NBA for almost 2 years. LeVar says he feels like that he has still won with both his sons getting max contracts and their current teams despite injury issues. I'm going to say this, and I want to apologize to fans what I'm going to say about LeVar Ball, because I'm going to be very, very nice and careful on how I say it. LeVar Ball doesn't know anything about sports. LeVar Ball played and practiced with the New York Jets for what, one season? He claims he can play. He could have played Michael Jordan one-on-one in his prime and beaten him. Okay. We've heard LeVar Ball come out and say that on national radio. LeVar Ball's sons are not that good. LaMelo is a good player. I like his game. I think his game fits the NBA style. He's a good three-point shooter. He chucks up a lot of threes. He's a good ball handler. He's a fancy, he's fancy with the ball and his crossover. He's fun to watch. If you're a basketball, street ball fan, LaMelo Ball is fun to watch. Besides that, Lonzo Ball is a shell of what everybody thought he was going to be. Magic Johnson drafted Lonzo Ball. He was the second pick of that draft. And by the way, that draft was fantastically bad, okay? And I will say that because Fultz?
Fultz, yeah.
Fultz was the number one pick. And where is he right now?
Orlando, I believe.
Yeah, he's been on like 6 different teams, can't stay healthy. Lonzo Ball was the number 2. Who was the number 3?
Tatum. So they got that one right.
That was the only one.
And then number 4 was even worse, Josh Jackson.
I mean, Tatum was the only good player in that draft class that really stands out. It says a lot about who his sons are. Now, his other son, I forget his other son's name.
LiAngelo.
He's tried to be a walk-on on a basketball court on how many NBA teams. It never worked out. The Knicks being one of those teams. It didn't work out. LeVar Ball, and I will say this to be nice, LeVar Ball knows nothing about basketball. His sons, yes, his sons did win on this. He promoted his sons. He marketed his sons very well. And that's why his sons are in the NBA. Before they even stepped on an NBA basketball court, he said that they were the next 3 tandem superstars in the NBA, that they were going to play together and they were going to be superstars and they're going to win multiple NBA championships and get multiple shoe deals and be billionaires. I remember what do they call their
the big baller brand?
The big baller brand, which, practically was out of business in less than a year. Okay. And now he's complaining about companies like Puma that has his son LaMelo Ball under their brand. By the way, I've checked out LaMelo sneakers. They're actually nice looking, but I tried them on. They do hurt your ankle. And what do? When they build these sneakers, they make these sneakers, they shape them out of their feet. That's what they do. LeBron James, if you ever seen the James sneakers, LeBron sneakers, if you put them on, they're shaped for LeBron James's foot. Steph Curry sneakers, I don't know if you guys ever checked out Steph Curry sneakers. They're made to fit his foot. That's how they make them. So when I tried LaMelo Ball sneakers, they're fantastic looking. They're really, really nice. But when you put them on, they hurt my ankles, they hurt my toes, they hurt my feet. I would never buy those sneakers. And that's not Puma's fault.
No.
Okay, that's not Puma's fault. When they give LaMelo 2 or 3 styles of sneakers and they say, which one do you like? He picked that size. He picked that style. Okay, and that's what they're promoting. So blame your son for picking the wrong sneaker. It's not Puma's fault. It's your son's fault. It goes through the player. They're not just saying, okay, LaMelo, we're going to pick this sneaker. What do you think about this sneaker? We're going to put it out there. He's got to promote it. He's got to wear those sneakers.
And if you really were to blame the sneaker, he would have changed it already by then at that point. I mean, it's not as drastic as the whole Zion Williamson shoe bursting on the court instance when he was at Duke, and that wanted a whole lawsuit against Nike. But nevertheless, like if LaMelo Ball and Lonzo Ball were going through constant ankle injuries and foot injuries because of the sneakers, they have enough money to change the sneakers. And if you're such an expert on sneakers, LaVar, why did your brand almost go bankrupt in 2019? That's not an area of expertise for you. And you want to blame conditioning all you want to. This NBA era, we talked about it at the beginning of the season, is all about this load management now. And Joe Dumars was saying, it doesn't make a difference, but players are still going to try to do it anyway. And for your 2 sons especially, maybe they should do more of that and try to manage their own bodies differently.
And I'll say this, his sons have one because they have got contracts that they've earned.
Yeah.
Okay. They've made it to the NBA and you're going to get those big contracts. LaMelo Ball has a big 5-year contract and well-deserved. I mean, for the 2 seasons, the 2 full decent seasons that he's had, he's been in the league how many years? 4 years now?
Yeah, and he's like an 18, 6, and 7 player for his career.
Yeah. He's been in the league for 4 years and he's only had 1 full season that he's been in the games. And the other seasons he's played 50, now he's played 30. And I think this year he's only played like a little bit around 30 games this year. Right. He has not been healthy for the last 2 seasons. Now, he's going to play the NBA. He's going to blame, obviously, the conditioning of some of these trainers. It's not the trainer's fault. It's your team. It's your son's fault on his conditioning, his strength and conditioning off the court during the season and off season. Okay. That's what's the problem right now. And I understand what LaVar Ball is trying to say. He has won because his son's making millions and millions of dollars. He marketed his sons perfectly. And his son, he's a genius. He's a marketing genius. Here's the problem with his marketing and his geniusness. He has built an empire through his sons with sneakers, shirts, brands, and they've all failed. What does that tell you about your marketing skills, LaVar? I don't know. Not very good. That's for sure.
And again, you also look at the fact that Lonzo Ball played with 3 different teams already. And the Lakers, they're the toughest challenge of them all, trying to keep LeBron James and Anthony Davis healthy. Now, they haven't done as well with Anthony Davis, fine. But LeBron has some of the best longevity we've ever seen in any sport. And the Lakers doing it now when he came in at 35 years old, have a lot to do with that.
That's the smartest thing Snuggs ever said. LaVar Ball is so far more interesting than his sons have ever been. Okay?
Yeah.
That's a perfect statement.
Yeah.
That is perfect. Snug, I give you an A+ on that.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful.
Yep.
That is the perfect take of the Ball sons, okay? The Ball sons.
And you officially made it weird. Then again, Snug might have tried to do that.
What
anyway.
a last name. LaVar Balls.
I think they were quoting it in the article as Ball Boys. So.
LaVar, play with my balls.
Yeah.
LaMelo, do you like balls?
Oh, God. Don't give me any ideas. That'll be a spin-off brand. Big balls.
Big balls. I've got big balls, LaVar.
Yeah, I'm sure he does after saying all the stupid statements that he says all the time.
Don't grab my balls, LaVar.
Yeah, well, don't tell Draymond Green. He might do it. Gross. Thank you. It's on me scoop. 2 for 2 tonight.
I mean, this story is just so funny.
It is.
And the Ball family obviously is the center of attention. Again, when none of them are playing in the NBA right now. LaMelo is not healthy. Lonzo hasn't been healthy for 2 years. And again, Lonzo Ball is probably, when he is playing, one of the better passers in the NBA. Mm-hmm. But we wouldn't know that because he hasn't played for 2 years. Yep. And everybody, and including LaVar Ball and his family, I don't know if you've ever checked the Balls. They have like a show.
They have the reality show.
They have a reality show. They had a reality show that was on Facebook. It was one of the most ridiculous, reality shows I've ever seen. Okay. Because I feel bad for their mother. Okay. Because their mother went through, I think she had a stroke. And she's an amazing woman because for all the stuff that she's been through, to stand by her sons and do the things. And I'll say this, LaVar is a good husband because LaVar took care of their mother while she was going through all the complications that she was going through. And I would say he's a good man. But all the things offset and throughout the crazy marketing schemes that he has done for his sons, and even some of the stupid things he said on reality shows and talk shows. I mean, he's been on the Jimmy Kimmel show. He was on the Jimmy Fallon show, and some of the crazy stuff that came out of his mouth, absolutely ridiculous.
I think he even said when LeBron signed with the Lakers, Lonzo will still be the best player in 2 years on the Lakers.
Yeah,
how did that work?
I really believe that LaVar is just trying to sell even more of a brand by throwing his sons to the dogs. His sons right now are not really the talk of the town because right now, Lonzo's trying to get back from an injury that happened 2 years ago, a knee injury that happened 2 years ago, and he'll never be the same, by the way, ever be the same. And LaMelo Ball he's got ankle problems. Who had ankle problems when he came into the league? Steph Curry. What did Steph Curry do to help his ankle problems? He went overseas and he had certain injections being put into his ankles. Also, Deron Williams. Remember Deron Williams? He had ankle problems too. He went overseas in the offseason and he had some new treatments happen. You know, he went to Germany. He also went to Yugoslavia, and he had all these different treatments overseas during the summers. Why isn't LaMelo doing that if he knows it worked for Deron Williams and it worked for Steph Curry?
Yeah, LiAngelo Ball.
Riddle me this.
LiAngelo Ball got arrested in China, man. Why doesn't one of them just go there and try to bail out his brother and then get some training on your ankles to make sure they don't get hurt all the time?
Mm-hmm. The Athletic reports that Scott Boras is after records on Juan Soto's next contract and wants a starting point of $500 million. Ooh, I like this. This is good. Reports say that Soto is after an average annual value that Shohei Ohtani signed a $70 million per year, but without the deferred money. Soto has turned down a previous offer of 15 years, $440 million, while he was still with the Nationals. Soto also knew that the Padres wouldn't be able to give him anywhere close to the money that he wants with them, already giving big contracts to Xavier Bogaerts and Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr. There is a belief that that very few MLB executives would give Soto that type of contract, even with Boras trying to push it. The Yankees still seem likely to commit to sign Soto long-term, but the price is still up in the air. Soto has an average of .345 batting average, a .924 OPS, with 1 home run and 4 RBIs in the Yankees' first 7 games. Juan Soto is a game changer. Juan Soto is as good as any player in the league right now. And I will say that you could put him at hitting third, you could put him hitting second, you could put him hitting fourth. He could be a cleanup hitter. He can do everything. And he's actually showing everybody that he can defend. And the Yankees are going to have a lot of suitors in the offseason going after Juan Soto. It's not just going to be the Yankees. Mm-hmm. I believe the Boston Red Sox will be going after him. I believe the New York Mets will be going after him. I believe the Toronto Blue Jays will be going after him, and many other teams, especially the Giants. There are a ton of teams that are going to be able to overpay Juan Soto if they need to. The question is Juan Soto going to get the money that Shohei Ohtani got this past offseason? $70 million per year. Now, it's deferred money. He's not going to see that money for at least 10 seasons. Nevertheless, he is going to see it after that. He is going to be a billionaire by the time that happens. Juan Soto knows this is probably going to be his only contract. He's not going to get another contract because he wants between a 10 and 13-year contract. Now, I've heard Brian Cashman come out and say that he will never give a player a 10 or 13-year contract again. But Juan Soto is different because he's 25. He's going to be 26 this year, and he's one of the youngest, most talented players in all of the MLB. What we have seen so far in the lineup when he is there is just unbelievably impressive. He's batting .345. His OPS right now is .924, which is second in the league. He has 4 RBIs and 1 home run in 7 games. Now, I did not think he was going to come out strong like this in the beginning of the season. I did believe he was going to hit 300 in this lineup. I did believe his on-base percentage was going to be very high, and I believe he's going to hit about 50 home runs this year in a lineup this deadly. But you see how much of a game changer Juan Soto is, especially in the later innings when they need a big hit. He has been unbelievable for the Yankees, and he's showing off his arm. He's showing off his defense, something that he has not shown off over the last couple of seasons, even with the Padres and the Nationals. And the Yankees have something right now. And I know everybody said that the Yankees are a wild card team, maybe a first or second wild card team. They're winning their division. With this lineup, the way it's set up, if they can stay healthy, they don't even have Aaron Judge playing at his full strength. He is not playing at the top of his game yet. Aaron Judge will go on a hitting streak. He will hit probably 7 or 8 consecutive home runs in 8 consecutive games. We've seen him do this. But to have Juan Soto being protected by Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, it makes them even more dangerous. And it puts Juan Soto in a lineup that he's never been in. He has never been in a lineup this talented. He has never been in a lineup from top to bottom as dominant as it is. So, and I said this already, the Yankees right now are averaging almost 5.5 runs a game. If the Yankees average 5.5 or more runs a game, it doesn't matter who's on the mound.
And also, you look at the ballparks that come in the AL East. Now, granted, with the new scheduling change, everybody plays everybody, so there's less divisional games. But the Yankees and the rest of that division still have a lot of those hitters' ballparks that Juan Soto can alleviate his power numbers, because his on-base percentage and his OPS numbers are always going to come. They've come his whole career, and the power numbers are what has only come in certain years, and more recently in the last 3 years. So that's where the money is going to go, where if Scott Boras is going to get him this $550, $600 million contract that he's going to want, those numbers are going to have to come in a better place to do that. No better place to do that than that short porch in Yankee Stadium. And he's already showing it against these top pitchers that the Astros have, these really tough pitchers that the Diamondbacks have as well. These are tough teams they're playing against. The Diamondbacks just went to the World Series, and the Astros have probably been the best, besides the cheating, best team in baseball in terms of developing pitchers. So you look at that benefits for Soto, that definitely could come. Now, Scott Boras, we talked about the stubbornness of him this offseason with a lot of his clients. How many of those teams are going to be able to take that kind of thing on and want to take on a $70 million per year contract if it's not going to be deferred money? Because he doesn't want it to be deferred money. Juan Soto has said that already. Allegedly, he doesn't want that. So how many teams are going to want to be able to do that and be able to do that financially with the luxury tax?
I mean, his eye at the plate is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And he doesn't strike out much. And that's what makes him even more talented. And in a lineup where the Yankees and Aaron Judge doesn't strike out a lot now anymore. Giancarlo Stanton does. But but the way the Yankees are really positioning themselves with the lineup that they have, the Yankees can compete against anybody, any lineup in the league. And Juan Soto deserves the money that he wants in the offseason. Scott Boras is going to do whatever he can to make him the most possible money he can get. And does he deserve 70 or 75 million? I don't know if he gets that. I think he gets between 60 and 65 million. That's what he's going to make as an everyday player. Now, the Shohei Ohtani you're never going to see a contract like that for a very long time.
Right.
The fact that he's getting 70 million per year, but it's deferred money, he's not going to see it for 10 years, says a lot about who Shohei Ohtani is. And he knows he's going to make a lot of money. He doesn't need to play. He doesn't need to make that money now. He could wait 10 years from now because of all the endorsements, the jersey deals, and everything that he's getting, not only with his betting scam, but everything else. But I mean, right now, you look at the Yankees are going to offer him a significant amount of money. I don't know if they're going to offer him more than 550 million. If some team goes over that, if some team gives him or offers him 600 million, does he take it? I think, and I said this to Josh today, I said this, if the Yankees, if he has a good season in this lineup and he likes New York and he likes playing in front of the New York fans and he loves the city and he loves the city life and he wants to stay here on the East Coast with the Yankees in a small ballpark where he has a chance to be one of the greatest Yankees of all time. If the Yankees give him and offer him 500 million or 515 million to another team offering him 575, 580, I believe that he will take the Yankees $515 million and sign with the Yankees. And there's a reason why. Because the Yankees are going to give him a chance to win every single year. If he goes to the Mets, is he going to win every single year? Probably not.
No, the Mets can't win a game this season.
If he goes to the Blue Jays, are they going to win every single year? Probably not. If he goes to the Boston Red Sox, for the way they're built over the last couple of years, is he going to win every single year? Probably not. So if he goes to the Dodgers, yes. If he goes to one of those teams, the Phillies, the Braves, because the Braves could offer him a ton of money too to play with Acuna, who knows? But right now, the only team that makes sense for him right now on paper is the Yankees, especially if he hits 50 home runs and has over 140, 130 RBIs, and the Yankees go far in the playoffs or maybe even go to the World Series and win. Why would he leave the Yankees? He would probably take a little bit less money and stay with the Yankees.
It's interesting because it reminds me a lot, this Juan Soto free agency and really the trade sweepstakes the last couple of years, a lot like Miguel Cabrera at the time when he first was going into the trade rumors, then he got traded to the Tigers from Miami. And that kind of thing, because he was one of the best pure hitters in baseball, was great at carrying all these young players. And so many teams are offering it to him, and the trade rumors were there. I think it's very similar with Soto, which is how good of a pure hitter that he ended up being. And you look at the amount of teams that he could go to where there's a lot of good lineups that like to spend a lot of money. And the Yankees, you're right, are definitely the best one of that group. And the Phillies are another great one too, with Bryce Harper and Trey Turner,
and that's
played with.
That's the reason why if there's any team that has a shot to get him, it's Philadelphia, because he's very close with Trey Turner. He's very close with Bryce Harper. And we all know what they're trying to do. They're trying to clear some salary room this year so they can make a big force for a guy like Juan Soto in the offseason. So I do believe Philadelphia will go after Juan Soto. The question is, will they land him? Mm-hmm. That's the thing. And I know the Mets are going to offer him a significant amount of money because he's very close with Lindor. He already said that he loves playing in Citi Field. And I know a guy like Steve Cohen is going to open up his pockets next year. If they don't sign Pete Alonso and let Pete Alonso go to free agency, they're going to have to make a splash. They're going to have to bring in a big name, or probably a bigger name. And the biggest name that's going to be available next year is Juan Soto.
Yep, and Scott Boras is also going to encourage the spending too. The way that I mentioned with Miguel Cabrera, you saw that with the Tigers after that. They bring in Victor Martinez, then they bring in Prince Fielder, they bring in Ian Kinsler, all these guys that they stacked the offense because of that. And expect that kind of thing to happen with a lot of these other teams that already have the stacked offenses with Juan Soto. And Scott Boras is very close with a lot of those Phillies clients that we mentioned, but Bryce Harper and Trey Turner are two of his guys. And he's had some connections with the Yankees in the past too. And Brian Cashman should not think of the 10-year exception to his rule as not being Juan Soto, because Juan Soto doesn't have a major deficiency as a game. I know Jeff always says, he's not overly fast. He's not overly amazing defensively, but you can still get away with that in an analytic league. He's not going to play center field anyway. Like, he's playing right field or left field for the most part.
He's proven that he has an arm. He's proven that he can defend, and we all know he can hit. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we will get into the New York Jets. Rich Cimini says that the Jets are very interested in trading back in the first round. I will tell you why I think the Jets are making a mistake. But first, ladies and gentlemen, our Sports Minute with Tommy Scoops.
This is the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute.
Are you ready to get loud?
With Tommy Scoops.
That is right, ladies and gentlemen. I am back for another Loudmouth Sports Minute report with the man, of course, himself, Tommy Scoops, to give you guys all the rundown. And currently, right now for today's Scoops, in the NFL, newly acquired Texans wide receiver Stephon Diggs announced that he will be wearing the jersey number 1. The Texans earlier today also did announce that they did buy off the rest of his years on his contract, meaning that he will be a free agent after next season. Shifting over into some other NFL news, draft prospects Drake May and Jaden Daniels announced that they will be visiting the Patriots. May will be visiting tomorrow on Friday, and Jaden Daniels will be visiting on Monday. With the Patriots letting go of Mac Jones this past season to the Jaguars, they will be looking to draft one of these two quarterbacks in the draft later this month. Going over into the NBA, the New York Knicks did announce that OG Anunoby is cleared for contact. Head coach Tom Thibodeau did say that he has started doing 5-on-5 drills again in practice, but his status is currently unclear for the playoffs. Right now, going over to some more NBA news, the Pelicans forward Zion Williams actually did say that he is day-to-day with a sore finger. Zion did get an x-ray that is actually negative, but however, they do need him to clinch a playoff spot within the last few weeks of the NBA. Now it's going to be going over to Scoops to Scores, where I'm going to give you a quick rundown of Scoops to Scores. And right now in the NBA, Sacramento has a 35-20 lead over New York. Philadelphia has a 34-19 lead over Miami. Atlanta 22-18 over Dallas. And currently in the NHL, Tampa Bay has a 2-1 lead over Montreal. And Florida has a 2-0 lead over Ottawa, with Pittsburgh as well having a 2-0 lead over Washington. Boston has a 3-0 lead over Carolina, and the Islanders have a 2-2 lead with the Blue Jackets. That is currently all the time I have for you guys right now. I'm going to be back later in the show for an update. Now, send it back to the boys for the next segment on Sports Loudmouth.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedster, Speedy, Petey. Remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me, Speedy Petey, and ex-NFL player Sean Smith, every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. I just want to give a shout out to all the people that are probably wondering why I look so tired. I have not slept for 48 hours, ladies and gentlemen. I have had problems sleeping over the last couple of days. And my fingers were tingling over the last couple of days as well. I was telling the boys during the break that for some reason my index, my middle finger, and my thumb has been going on and off numbness over the last couple of days. So it's been horrible, but I'm still here doing the show, and I hope everybody's being entertained as well. But it's been horrible the last couple of days. I have not been sleeping. I am an absolute zombie over the last couple of days. ESPN's Rich Cimini reports that the Jets would really like to trade back with a team that needs a quarterback at number 10. The Jets would be willing to trade the pick for another first-round pick and another pick in the top 100 after losing their second-round pick, trading for Aaron Rodgers. Cimini also said that he expects 4 quarterbacks to be drafted before the Jets before the number 10 pick. The Vikings are at number 11, the Broncos are at number 12, and the Raiders are at number 13, are all looking for a quarterback. The Jets are also not getting any trade value for Zach Wilson and say they will keep him if they can't trade him. The Jets say they will likely not draft a quarterback at any point of this year's draft, regardless of what happens with Zach Wilson. Here's the thing. I know Jet fans want to get Penix. If Penix falls to the second or third round, some people say that if he falls to the later first round, there could be teams like Seattle interested in possibly making a move and bringing him in to back up Geno Smith as they brought in his offensive coordinator over there from Washington. I sit here today, and I'm a Jet fan, and I'm going to sit here and I'm wondering what the Jets are thinking here. They're not getting a number 1 pick. They're not getting another first-round draft pick if somebody trades up to get their number 10 pick. There's no way they're getting that. Now, the Giants did when Justin Fields was still on the board, and I think the Giants were drafting
9 picks behind. Yeah,
they were drafting at 12 or 13, and Chicago moved up from 20 or 21 to jump all the way to 12 or 13 to land Justin Fields. The Giants got a first and I think, if I'm not mistaken, a third for that. I don't think the Jets are going to get that. The quarterbacks in this class are not, all the good ones are not going to fall to the New York Jets. I do believe that 4 quarterbacks will be drafted in the top 10. So at number 10, there could be a significant amount of talent that could be sitting there for the New York Jets. We've been talking about some of the good wide receivers that are going to be available. Adunze could be sitting there at number 10 for the New York Jets. I know he's been in there. He's been sitting down and talking to Joe Douglas. He went to have a visit of the Jets, practice facilities over the last week. Adunze could be a great fit for the New York Jets. Brock Bowers is another one. I'm not a big Brock Bowers fan. I'm not saying I don't think Brock Bowers is going to be a good tight end in the league. I just don't want to draft a tight end in the top 10. I'm worried that I've seen over the years, any tight end that we've seen drafted in the top 15 have not been successful in the NFL. So I'm worried that Brock Bowers goes to the Jets at number 10 and he's a failure. But there are quite a few good offensive linemen sitting there at number 10. The Penn State kid could be sitting there. Alt will not be sitting there. I know a lot of Jet fans believe that Alt could fall even with 4 quarterbacks drafted in the top 10. Alt's not falling past the Tennessee Titans. He's not. Now, I still believe the Chargers are going to be looking for an offensive lineman, and I think that's where Alt is going to go. You have Slater on one side, you have Alt on the other. You solidify your offensive line for the next 10 years. Slater is fantastic. You keep Slater over there at the left tackle position, and you move Alt to the right tackle position. You have a dominant tackle combination. The Jets right now have no backups to Byron Smith. And I think that some of these offensive linemen that'll be sitting there at 10, you could take your pick on who you want. And I think the Jets should be going that route. I don't think the Jets should be trading down. I understand that Joe Douglas wants that second-round draft pick. If I'm not mistaken, I think the Jets have 2 fourth-round draft picks. You take one of those fourth-round draft picks and your third, if you need or you like a player in the second round, and you move up and you get the player that you want in the second round.
Yeah, with too much tackle value, I don't know if this makes a lot of sense for the Jets, unless you're going to get a lot of like third and fourth round picks back. Like you said, the Giants, even though they got a first round pick, they only got 2 total picks back. And I don't even know if the Jets are going to want to do that for a Jets team that wants to build up with the way Joe Douglas likes to do. He's always liked to trade back. He's always liked to accumulate good depth in the middle of the draft. And I don't think any team is really in that position to be able to do that right now. The Vikings would probably be the only chance, but why would the Vikings trade 1 pick? Like, the Broncos are far behind. The Raiders are far behind. Seattle is not a team that usually does that. I can't imagine them doing that. And like you said, Penix is probably going to fall anyway with what we're hearing.
He might fall to the second round, maybe even the third. That's what I'm hearing. If Penix doesn't get drafted by Seattle, he can fall to the late second round, early third round. And I like Penix. And I know that maybe the Giants, if the Giants don't go after J.J. McCarthy, he's sitting there at 6. And a lot of people think that the Giants are going to go after J.J. I do not believe if Marvin Harrison Jr. is sitting there at 6, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be drafted by the New York Giants. If any one of those top 3 wide receivers are sitting there at 6, that's where the Giants should go. And if they go after a quarterback, it makes absolutely no sense. Yeah. They need wide receiving depth. They don't have any. None of the free agents want to go and play over there. Maybe if you add a Marvin Harrison Jr. there or a Neighbors there, maybe that will, after you see a season of that, maybe you have some of these veteran guys wanting to go over there and play with Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors.
Right. The other scenario for the Jets that you have to factor in too is if somebody else does trade up for a quarterback in a different spot, that's going to leave even more good top end talent available for that kind of thing. Because let's say JJ McCarthy is overly liked by a team like the Patriots. They want to trade back a little bit, but they want to still draft JJ McCarthy.
It seems like the only team that's really interested in him in the top 7 is the Giants.
Right now, the Giants. And again, there's always going to be the wild cards with maybe one of those 3 teams you mentioned, the Broncos, the Raiders, or the Vikings. Now, again, I don't know if
would you trade up for JJ McCarthy?
I wouldn't, but again, if they feel like that's his fit, that would be the move that they could make. I don't know. But again, there's no other scenarios for these other teams to want to trade back anyway. Like you said, Tennessee needs too much offensive line. The Falcons at number 8, they could do a lot of different things with a second wide receiver to go along with Drake London and Kyle Pitts. Like, they could do a lot of different things in talent perspectives because the teams need a lot of the same things this draft. And it's going to make it very hard for a team to be able to get that value, even trading back 6 picks or 7 picks to even the Seattle Seahawks or one of those playoff teams that could use a quarterback to groom and develop. Like, the scenario I don't think is there for the Jets unless they really get an offer with like 4 other draft picks they can't refuse.
And actually not just the Giants. I'm reading right now that the Patriots, Elliott Wolf, is pushing for JJ McCarthy as well. So I'm very surprised he's moving up on the boards. Now, I did hear from Jim Harbaugh. He came out and said that whoever passes up on JJ McCarthy he said the same thing that Dabo Sweeney said. You're passing up on the best quarterback in this draft class. Now, maybe JJ McCarthy becomes one of the best quarterbacks in this class. Maybe he is the best quarterback in this class. I'm not taking a chance in the top 10, especially the Giants, when you still have a quarterback under contract and you need wide receiving talent. You don't have any. So, and as far as the Jets are concerned, moving down in the draft, if one of these guys, if Odunze's not sitting there or one of the offensive linemen they really, really want is not sitting there, then I would trade out of that pick. Again, why would Minnesota try to jump from 11 to 10 to get a quarterback? Why would the Raiders want to jump? And I said it, if there's any team that's going to do that and give up a significant amount back for it, it's the Raiders. Because I could see if J.J. McCarthy's sitting there at 10 from the Jets, I could see the Raiders jumping all the other teams, including Minnesota and who's the team right after that?
Broncos.
The Broncos, jumping them to get the J.J. McCarthy. I could see that happening if it's possible. And I don't think J.J. McCarthy is going to be drafted in a top 9. I don't. I think if he falls to 11 or 12 or 13, that's where he's going. But it's crazy. Maybe if it all falls together and the Jets are sitting pretty at 10 and these other 3 teams right behind them really, really, really want J.J. McCarthy, maybe they rob Minnesota. Maybe they rob a team like Vegas and trade out of that pick. They they move back 3 or 4 spots. They still get the offensive lineman or the tight end or wide receiver that they want, and they get an extra first-round draft pick for it.
And there's also no assumption, too, that those other 2 teams we talked about last week are going to consider those kinds of offers either as teams that also need a lot of just overall talent on the team. And I know Jeff likes to say, oh, the Patriots have good wide receiver depth. They really don't. And their offensive line's a mess. With Washington, the defense is a mess. Their offensive line is bad as well. They have good skill players, but that's not going to help a rookie quarterback out all the time, no matter who you're going to set up in the situation. And again, we said yesterday, we think it's going to be Jaden Daniels, but that doesn't mean guaranteed that they wouldn't try to trade back a little bit. And those other teams, those 11, 12, and 13th pick are going to be those teams to do that. We were thinking all offseason until Kirk Cousins signed there was going to be Atlanta trading up, but that's out of the question now. So that leaves those 3 teams really.
There's no way J.J. McCarthy, Keith, is going to be drafted in the top 5. There's no way he's going to be drafted in the top 5. You could book it. You want to bet on that? I would bet on that. J.J. McCarthy is not going to be drafted in the top 5. There's no way. Mm-hmm. There's no way. And if he's not drafted in the top 5, the Giants are not drafting. I don't care what anybody says. The Giants are not drafting him. That means all the other teams. Who's at 7? Who's drafting at 7? Tennessee. Who's drafting at 8? Atlanta. Atlanta's not drafting a quarterback. They just brought in a quarterback. Right. Who's drafting after them?
And the Bears. So we're going to draft Caleb Williams.
Yeah, so they're not drafting a quarterback. So J.J. McCarthy will be there if the Chargers do not trade that pick, which I do not believe the Chargers are trading that pick, and the Giants definitely aren't. So there you go. So if you look at the top 5 picks, and this is where I think it's going to go. It's going to be Williams. It's going to be Daniels. It's going to be May. And then it's going to be probably Arizona. Whoever trades, somebody could trade up for Arizona, but I still think Arizona is going to keep their pick. Malik Neighbors is going to go 4. Number 5, I think the Chargers are going to draft Alt. That's where I think they're going. And at number 6, the Giants are going to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. After that, J.J. McCarthy is not going in any of those picks. So he is going to be sitting pretty. No, Harrison is not going 4th. He didn't have his pro day. I know Arizona was not happy about that. I've heard quite a few other teams were not happy. If they were drafting at 4, I've heard if they were drafting at 4 or 5, they would not be drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. because he didn't have a pro day and he barely had a combine.
Fish mentioned in our private chat, Neighbors posted an Instagram live chilling with Herbert in paradise in LA. I don't know. Maybe he's encouraged himself to go to the Chargers. And now we have our friend Nathan with us.
Yeah.
What's up, buddy?
What's up, Arrow? What's up, Speedy? Thanks for having me as always.
Absolutely, man. And we're talking about the draft. We're talking about the Jets and the Giants right now. Where do the Giants go? And I do believe Marvin Harrison Jr. will be sitting there at number 6. And it's not because I don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. is the most talented player in this draft class. Right. Speedy, I've told you a million times. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best player in this class. The best player. He is going to be so explosive, so fun to watch in the NFL, wherever he goes. If he goes to the Giants get a steal. They're getting the best player in this class at number 6.
But
if he stays healthy.
But don't discount Malik Neighbors and then the other guy. I keep forgetting the other guy's name.
I don't think we're discounting Malik Neighbors, but Malik Neighbors doesn't have the physical prototypes that Harrison does. Harrison just had some nagging injuries in college. That was really his only weakness.
He's saying that if Neighbors is sitting there at 6, that the Giants could go after Malik Neighbors. Sure. I do not believe Marvin Harrison Jr. is going 4th. I don't. I really don't. To me, the reason why is Arizona, and and I'll say this again. Arizona has dealt with a lot of personality flaws over the last couple of years. They have a quarterback that has a personality flaws. He talks in a third person every time he gets interviewed. It's really pretty funny.
And it had to do with, what was it, the film watching clause in his contract?
Yes.
Or whatever that was.
And Marvin Harrison Jr. not having a pro day, not really participating in the combine, says one thing. He is a prima donna. And I cannot see Arizona taking a chance with Marvin Harrison Jr. when they had, I don't know, they had a prima donna there in Marquise Brown. He was there, and he was friends with Kyler Murray. What did he do over there? Absolutely nothing. I think you go after a guy like Malik Neighbors, because Malik Neighbors, he's not that outspoken, Jamar Chase type of player. Even though he comes from LSU, he's that speed demon, kind of like Jamar Chase. He really is kind of like Jamar Chase. If you want to prototype his style of game and the type of player he is, he's a Jamar Chase. He's the same size as Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is 6'1". He's 6 foot. I mean, their 40s were almost identical. I mean, they're practically the same player. Now we'll see how he transforms his game into the NFL, but he's a speed demon. He's great on the outside, and he's a decent route runner. The best route runner in this class is Marvin Harrison Jr. It's not even an argument, and he's probably one of the fastest wide receivers I've seen come out of the draft in the last couple of years. I was very surprised he wouldn't run his 40. I was very surprised he wouldn't run his 40. But I'm going to tell you this right now. If you have not checked out his YouTube posts on, the machine popping the ball up and him running 50 yards and catching the ball in the end zone, if you don't think he's fast, boy, oh boy, you guys are blind. And you don't have to sell me how good Marvin Harrison Jr. is when we've seen what he's done in college for the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, he's the best wide receiver prospect we've seen. Got anything? What are you saying?
He's the best player. He's the best player all around in this draft.
I believe so too. I do. I think he's the best player, all-around player in this class. I think if there's 5 teams that are going to pass up on him, they're making a big mistake. I'm just saying that. And the Giants could be sitting pretty right there at 6. They're getting the best wide receiver to come out of the draft in the last 5 years. And that says a lot, because there's a lot of great wide receivers that have come out of the draft in the last 5 years and have been very successful in the league. This guy is going to be a game changer for the Giants. And many different veteran wide receivers are going to want to play for the Giants moving forward, because they get a chance to be on the other side with Marvin Harrison Jr.
And he can be much. I think everybody is saying, from what I heard, people I know from the outside, they said that he can be better than his father potentially.
Yeah,
more,
it's probably possible because of his size.
Yeah.
And the production grade was very good for his size as well. And when you look at all around skill set perspective, it's probably the best wide receiving prospect we've seen since Julio Jones.
Yeah. I will say this. I know Keith is saying Neighbors. If Neighbors is sitting there, I mean, that's not a bad choice for the Giants either. Malik Neighbors is going to be a good player in this league too. Go ahead.
Do you guys think Marvin Harrison will last 6?
No, I think he's going to go to the Chargers, but if he does fall to the Giants, they can't pass.
I do. I think he's going to go to the Giants. I've said the reasons why. He didn't have a pro day. He barely showed up to the combine. He's been very aggressive. First of all, he doesn't want to speak to the press, and he's been very aggressive on, some of his statements that he has made on social media. Okay. Which tells me that he's speaking, or he has somebody speaking for him.
Yeah.
So he doesn't want to speak to the press. He doesn't have that in him. He's not that type of player. So he's a prima donna. And if I was a team right now, and I was the Patriots, or I was any of those teams, Washington, if they don't want a quarterback and they want Marvin Harrison Jr., they're going to look back at all the things that he has done over the last couple of weeks and say, do we want this stigma on our team? That's the problem.
Bill Belichick would never tolerate that if he was still there.
You're not going to want something like that on your team. And I think no matter how good and how talented this guy is, I would be worried if I was a GM and I'm putting my job on the line drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. and he doesn't want to play or doesn't want to play for that team. You've heard Deion Sanders come out and say it the other day that he's trying to push players to choose where they want to go, and if they don't want to go there, to push their way out, do the Eli Manning thing. So to me, they're all becoming prima donnas, and Marvin Harrison Jr. is such a superstar right now. He can choose and believe where he wants to go, and that's where he's going to go. And I really believe he doesn't want to go to Arizona because he knows Arizona is going to stink, and they've been an organization of failure. I don't believe he wants to go to the Chargers because they're an organization of failure. And who wants to play for Jim Harbaugh in his first year when he's trying to figure things out? So the only thing that makes sense is him going to the New York Giants.
You want to hear a hot take?
All right.
I think this. I don't know if this is gonna happen, but if Jerry Jones wants to make a splash, this reminds me of when he got Dez Bryant. He traded up to get Dez Bryant. So you never know with Jerry Jones. Maybe he can find a way to trade up to get.
He's not trading up. Do you know what you're going to have to give up for a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr.? Just where are the Cowboys drafting?
24, I think.
24. Okay, just think about it this way. Marvin Harrison Jr. is estimated to be drafted either between 4 and 6.
Right.
Okay. That's his estimation of where he's going to be drafted. Mm-hmm. To jump from 24 to, let's say, 4. Do you know how many first-round draft picks you're going to have to give up to get him? Take a guess.
Like 3 or 4 or 5?
3.
Probably at least 3. Maybe.
3 first-round draft picks and probably a second.
Yeah.
Get him. Do you really think that Jerry Jones is going to give away his future for Marvin Harrison? You don't need Marvin Harrison Jr. You could get I'm trying to Coleman. If Coleman's sitting there now, if I were the Cowboys, and I'm going to say this, if I'm the Cowboys and they're a team, who's drafting at 15, Speedy? Do you have the draft?
I think it's Seattle.
If Seattle's willing to trade out of that 15th pick, and you just have to give up a first round and a third round to move up from 24 to 15 to get Coleman. First of all, Coleman and CeeDee Lamb are cousins. Okay. Mm-hmm. They're cousins. And I don't see Coleman lasting all the way to 20. I think Coleman goes in the top 20. I think
the Colts had the 15th pick.
All right, so yeah, Seattle has 16.
So if I was the Cowboys, I would reach out to the Colts, the Indianapolis Colts, and try to trade up from 24 to 15. You can get Coleman. I think Coleman is going to be a fantastic wide receiver in this league. I know he didn't do very well at his combine. He didn't run very well on his 40. That doesn't matter. I've seen many players at the combine that didn't show up at their combine and they're superstar, all pro players. So. And look, CeeDee Lamb fell to number 17. He was drafted at 17. And I thought he was in my top 5 when it came to my draft class. And he fell to 17. The Cowboys got him, and what a steal he has been. I mean, that draft class of wide receivers is sensational. You had Jefferson, you had CeeDee Lamb. I mean, I don't know. If you look at the list of players and wide receivers drafted in that class, I think there were 14 in the first 2 rounds, which was the most ever. Mm-hmm. I would say about 4 or 5 of them are superstars.
Yeah, you got Ayuk and T. Higgins, too, that are also good. Mm-hmm. Really, the only one that didn't work out as well was obviously Ruggs with all the incident he went on, but also Judy. And Nathan, to go back to your Dez Bryant take, they also traded back in that draft, too, before that. So they had a strategy in place knowing that Dez Bryant could have fallen there because there were a lot of good pass rushers drafted in that. That was more of a defensive draft outside of the quarterbacks in the beginning.
It's crazy. It's going to be a fun draft, and that's why everybody can't wait. The draft is what?
You guys going there?
After, I think, Sunday, I think it's 2 weeks away.
You guys going there? Are you guys going there?
Going what? To the draft?
Yeah.
No, it's my birthday weekend. Why am I going to the draft? Why would I be going to the draft on my birthday weekend? Now, I'm going to celebrate my birthday the week after, but my birthday weekend, the draft starts, I think, April 27th. My birthday is April 29th. Why would I be going to the draft? I know a bunch of people that would be going there. I know a bunch of people. I know a bunch of press guys that are going there, and writers that are going there, and blog writers that are going there. Do I want to go? But first of all, why would you want to go to the draft? Where's the draft being held?
That's what I'm trying to find out.
Arizona? Is it Arizona? I don't know. I mean, it's not New York, that's for sure. It's definitely not New York. Speedy, why can't you find things?
Detroit.
All right.
Detroit.
I don't want to go to Detroit. I definitely don't want to go to Detroit. Who wants to hang out at Detroit? I mean, seriously. Mean streets of Detroit. I mean, I'd like to go see a Red Wings game. I mean, the Red Wings will probably be out of the playoffs by then. If they actually make the playoffs.
Yeah, the 199 goals or whatever Washington Capitals.
I will tell you guys, I love what Steve Yzerman is doing right now. I think he's been fantastic. He's been one of the better GMs in the league. Fantastic what he did for Tampa, winning those Stanley Cups, and how he's built this Detroit Red Wings team from top to bottom. Fantastic the way that's transitioning. Some of the talent that they have in their farm system, they're great. They're going to be great for many, many years to come. I don't know if anybody's met Steve Yzerman. I was at a draft. I was at the NHL draft in Dallas a couple of years ago, and I'll never forget this. When I meet a lot of guys and I interview guys, I don't care. But I brought Anthony LaRocca. Okay, he's an Islander guy. He writes for the Islanders now. I brought him to his first draft. He did some press work, and we were outside in the hallways walking to the press area. And Steve Yzerman was going to the bathroom, and he was heading to the bathroom, and we were walking the opposite way. I'll never forget this. And when he's walking away, LaRocca screams, "Yo, we love you." The guy didn't even look behind him. I mean, he is a complete ass. Okay. I'm just being. Brandon Shanahan was actually pretty cool. I mean, he was working. He was the assistant GM for the Maple Leafs. I'll never forget it. He's not even he wasn't there in the draft. He was in the back looking at a television because Toronto was drafting next. It was so funny. He's looking at a little screen when he could be right out there hanging out with the team, and he's the assistant GM. I mean, who would have thought? And he was like, "Oh, look," he was like, LaRocca was telling me, like, "Look, it's Brendan Shanahan." I was like, "Yeah, I can see it. Who cares? It's Brendan Shanahan. Why don't you go shake his hand? Maybe he'll sign something for you. Maybe he'll sign something, and maybe he'll sign your underwear." I think he'd like that. Speedy, you would like that.
And I'm not going there.
Mm-hmm. No,
I'm not going there right now. We have a guest.
Yeah. Let me actually. What are you guys' thoughts on this Stephon Diggs trade to the Texans?
What do we think?
Yeah.
Quickly, because we have a guest, Nathan. What do I think? I think Stephon Diggs is a cancer. I think he's going to absolutely be a cancer in that locker room. I don't think you need a guy like Stephon Diggs when you have Collins there, Nico Collins there, and you have Dell there. I think you're going to be an explosive team anyways. A second-year quarterback. You're bringing in a guy that's been a cancer everywhere he's gone when it comes to quarterbacks. Look what he did in Minnesota. He was a cancer over there with some of the quarterbacks over there. And then he comes over here to Buffalo. And what has he been over the last 2 years? You have one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and you're throwing your quarterback under the bus. I mean, who would want Stephon Diggs? Who would want to deal with that idiot in the locker room? So I think it'll be good for the first half of the season. After he doesn't see the ball enough, he is going to do a lot of complaining. He's going to start talking to his brother and the press and throwing CJ Stroud under the bus. That's what I believe is going to happen. And they're not going to re-sign him. He is going to be an absolute cancer there. And I believe the Texans, because of this, might not make the playoffs. So that's my prediction.
Yep. Nathan, for me, it's more of the value that was not great, but I think the Bills' offense will still be just fine because I think they could be two tight ends and running centric like they were in the second half of the season when they switched coordinators.
Because the Bills are known for a 12-man offense anyway. So I think they're going to do two tight end system with Kincaid and then Knox.
Right, they're going to have to.
Yeah. All right, Nathan, we'll get you on. We'll get you on again if you want, Nath. You can come on after 9:30 if you want.
Yeah, or maybe next week or whatever. Yeah, I got to see.
Listen, I love what you're doing and all the posts, guys. Check out the NR Hour. Go check out all his stories. He's posting it up on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network website. It's fantastic. Great stories. He does so much press work over there in New Jersey. He did some stuff with Charles Oakley. We were there with him.
Yep.
He's going to be doing a lot of stuff in the next couple of weeks, and we might be joining him. So, Nith, keep up the good work. Keep writing. We love you, man.
Thank you. You guys keep up the great work also. And so I'll keep it in mind. 9:30 today. Let's see.
All right, man. Nith,
thank you.
the NR Hour, baby. NR Media. as he does great work over there in New Jersey. Fantastic. Really, really good writer, by the way. Check out his stories on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, our first guest, we've had him on. He's a real estate agent. He's a goalie coach for Arizona State. He's everything, ladies and gentlemen, over there in Arizona, in the hot sun of Arizona. We will be talking to 6-year NHL goaltender, Arizona State goalie coach, Eddie Lack. But first, ladies and gentlemen, our Sports Minute with Tommy Scoops.
This is the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute.
Are you ready to get loud?
With Tommy Scoops.
As promised, I am back with another update of the Loudmouth Sports Minute. I am Tommy Scoops to give you guys all the rundown. And right now, in the NFL, the Steelers just announced that they have signed tight end McCole Pruitt. It is currently unknown the amount that he has for the contract, but it will reunite him with offensive coordinator Arthur Smith. Over in the NBA, the Mavericks, Pelicans, Suns, and Kings all have a chance to clinch a play-in tonight. With the season over at April 14th, I bet all these teams are looking to get into the playoffs as soon as possible. And over in college basketball, Arkansas's head coach, Eric Musselman, to be coaching USC. Musselman will be leaving Razorbacks to join the Trojans over in USC. Currently, right now, I'm going to shift it over to Scoops and Scores, where at halftime in the NBA, currently the Kings have a 60-52 lead over the Knicks. Philadelphia has a 63-49 lead over Miami. Currently, Dallas has a 55-52 lead over Atlanta. The Warriors with a 28-22 lead over Houston. And over in the NHL, Tampa Bay has a 5-2 lead over Montreal. Florida with a 4-0 lead over Ottawa. Pittsburgh with a 3-0 lead over Washington. And Boston currently has a 3-1 lead over Carolina, with the Islanders and Blue Jackets still tied up at 2 apiece. St. Louis and Nashville are both tied up at 1 apiece. And that is all the time I have for you guys right now. Like I said, I'm going to be back later on in the show for another update. Let me send it back to the boys for their next guest, Eddie Lack.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy. PD. Remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me, Speedy PD, and ex-NFL player Sean Smith, every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Nathan, he's not much for words, that's for sure, Speedy. That's for damn sure. But when he writes, guys, I'm telling you right now, his stories are fantastic. And I'm telling you, check out the NR Media website and check out our website and check out all the stories that he puts out, all the different stuff that he is doing, press work that he's doing over there in New Jersey. Fantastic. Another guy that we've missed, we haven't had him on the show for a while. He's hanging out in his car, ladies and gentlemen, enjoying the heat, the sun, because he's over there hanging out at the rinks, coaching as he always does. And we're now talking to 6-year NHL goaltender and Arizona State goalie coach, Eddie Lack. Eddie, what's up, buddy?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. How's the real estate business down there?
It's going well. This is year 5 for me now, so I kind of know what to expect. So
5 houses, man. Any $1 million houses?
Yes. I mean, the market here has gone nuts since 2020, right? So, I mean, $1 million now is not what it used to be, you know?
Oh, man, it's easy for you to say. If I had $1 million to throw into a house, then I'd buy a couple of them. I mean, it's a great investment if you have the money behind you. But, I'm not an ex-NHL goaltender. I'm not an ex-NBA player or an NFL player. So I don't have that kind of money. I don't have that kind of chump change in my pocket. So, unfortunately, I can't do that. But it's very nice to have you on again. I know you're a busy guy. Tell us a little bit about Arizona State right now. I mean, you have a great hockey team over there, and they're moving up D1. Tell us a little bit about Arizona State.
Yeah, no, we had a good season and everything. Since we weren't in a conference this year, right? It was a little bit hard. We had a lot of tied games that we actually won in overtime, but since we're not in a conference, it just counts as a tie in the in the pairwise ranking and everything, right? So, in my opinion, we should have been a little bit higher and probably made the tournament and stuff. But that that's just like the way that the rules and everything is set, right? But we had a really fun and exciting team to watch, and got some good goalies on the team as well. So it's gonna be like fun now when we're in the conference.
Any of the
next year.
goalies, any of these goalies NHL bound?
Well, the goalie we have now, Gibson Homer, is a 6'7" guy. So he's definitely got the size for it. He's starting to move really well and everything too. So he's a guy that I really think that the NHL teams are like keeping an eye on, I think.
So being a Southern hockey market, what are some of the challenges that you have with your team and like the athletic program as a whole in a sport in college hockey that's very region specific with really just like the Midwest and the Northeast?
Yeah, I think like ASU has been really supportive with this program from the start, I think, and like the money that they put into building this new rink and everything. I mean, it's super exciting the way that things are happening here with the ASU and junior hockey and it's an interesting spot with the NHL team, as everyone knows, with the rink situation, everything here. So the everything else is like moving and developing as it should. So I really hope that the Coyotes stay here as well, but we'll see. It's not really looking too good right now, so we'll see.
Hey, you never know. Maybe they get a big time superstar in the draft, and maybe that keeps them there. Maybe
Yeah.
Austin Matthews, after his 3-year or 4-year extension, when he's, I think, 30 years old, he decides to go back to his hometown and go and win. I mean,
There's been some talks about
it's not winning with the Maple Leafs, that's for sure.
Coyotes will get a good player before they're 35.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. As everybody knows, we are talking a 6-year NHL goaltender vet and Arizona State goalie coach, Eddie Lack. 6 years in the NHL. You look at right now this playoff race in the Eastern Conference, Eddie. I know you tune in. You're looking at some of these teams. The Boston Bruins, they're very talented. Over the last couple of years, they had made some acquisitions. They lost some big-time players in the offseason. Some of them retired. And then even the Florida Panthers, a team that just made that unbelievable playoff run. Bobrovsky was one of the best goalies in the playoffs. He's been one of the best goalies in the playoffs the last couple of years. Who do you think stands out in the Eastern Conference that could make a run and win a Stanley Cup this year? Did we lose him?
You're muted, Eddie.
Oh, unmute him. There he is. There he is. There it is.
All right. Eddie, you're going to have to go out and back in.
Just go back in and out, Eddie. We're, as everybody knows, we are speaking to Eddie Lack. He had some technical difficulties. Just go in and out, Eddie, and we'll get you back on. But Eddie is, he's been in the NHL for 6 years. He backed up some of the best goaltenders in the NHL. He's got a great background when it comes to knowledge of hockey and goaltending, and he's fantastic. Great personality. Where's he from, by the way, Speedy?
I believe Sweden. I think
Sweden. You could tell his accent. So he's got a very unique accent. So we're working on getting Eddie Lack back in here. But it's crazy when you look at the NHL right now. You look at the Eastern Conference. You have Boston right now, and everybody thinks that Boston has been really in the second half one of the better teams in the NHL. They have great goaltending. Swayman is one of the best goalies in the league. And it's so crazy because Ullmark was the best goalie. He won the Vezina Trophy last year. And now this year, Swayman has been as good a goalie as Ullmark or any goalie in the NHL. It's unbelievable the talent that Boston has beyond in the pipes. But to getting back with Eddie Lack, Eddie, what are your thoughts to the Eastern Conference? Who do you think could sneak into the finals and win the Stanley Cup? I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah, we're not hearing you, Eddie. Eddie, we're gonna call you on the phone.
Yeah, let's call Eddie on the phone. Let's get Eddie on the phone. Unfortunately, we're trying to get Eddie. I don't know what happened to him. It was working just fine, and it didn't work. But again, we're working on getting Eddie so you can hear Eddie on the phone. Speedy, I want to get some of Speedy takes over here. Come on. Hey, what's wrong with you?
Eddie, can you hear us?
I don't know what's happening. So I'm just getting in, and then I lose
Maybe it's
volume. I can hear.
maybe it's just bad reception where you are. Maybe you're on a mountain. Maybe it's too hot over there. Maybe it's just too dry.
I am home. I am in my parking garage at home.
All right. Well, maybe it's your parking garage. Maybe you have to go in your house. So, Eddie, your thoughts to the Eastern Conference. Is there any surprise team that you think could sneak into the playoffs and make a run all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals and win?
I don't know all the way in, but like I am shocked the way that the Pittsburgh Penguins have just like resurrected from the dead. I feel like I mean they were counted out, and then they traded Gensel Carolina, right? So it's I don't know. They're up right now 3-0 against the Caps, I think, too. So it's if they get hot, I mean, they obviously got the experience and everything in that room, right? So they will be fun to like see if they can cause some distractions for those top teams, right? Like otherwise, I think Boston and Carolina would be the teams to look out for. I feel like
not the Rangers. I'm very surprised because a lot of Ranger fans they're probably hating on you right now. Who the hell is this Eddie Lack? He doesn't like the Rangers. I mean, the Rangers have been first place in the Metropolitan Division all season long. Carolina has been chasing them all season long, and the Rangers have beaten so many good teams. I'm an Islander fan. I'm not a big. I can't stand the Rangers, but I've been very impressed with Peter Laviolette. I think he's a different type of coach than they've had over the last couple of seasons, and I think he's a winner. He's won a Stanley Cup. He's been in a couple of Stanley Cup finals before. What are your thoughts to the Rangers' success this year and Peter Laviolette?
Yeah, I mean, they've had a really good year. I'm probably gonna have to eat my words, but I don't think that they will go to the conference final. I mean, I still think that they're a really good team and everything, but I do believe that there are a few teams that are better and that are better suited for playoff hockey, I think.
So one of your teams that you played for was Carolina for a little while, and Carolina seems like this is a kind of a last-ditch effort. They've been so close for a while. They were in the conference finals last year, and that amidst all those injuries, but then they got swept by Florida, and they have like 12 players that are going to be free agents. So what do you think they got to do, in addition to the goaltending, which has been a consistent issue for them, and you being a goalie? What do you think they have to do to overcome the Rangers and those other tough teams?
Yeah, I think like the biggest thing for them has just been all the injuries. Like I feel like every year they get going at this time and they get going at the right time, and then they just lose a lot of guys, right? Like last year they lost Svechnikov and Freddie Anderson as well. So the biggest thing for them, I guess, is just to stay healthy. Like I was at the Coyotes Canucks game here last night and talked to a lot of my buddies about that as well. And if they can stay healthy, they'll be a really dangerous team in the playoffs, I think.
You know, it's so crazy. And by the way, we were talking to 6-year NHL goaltender and Arizona State goalie coach Eddie Lack. He's from Sweden. He has a very nice accent. I don't know if anybody's been to Sweden, but it is a beautiful, beautiful place to go. And you got to check it out. Everybody there is blonde hair, blue eyes. Okay, I mean, you go to the city over there. I don't think you'll ever see somebody with black hair and brown eyes. I mean, I I would be looked at as a stranger in that city. If I walk through the roads in the city of Sweden, they would look at me like there was something wrong with me. I shouldn't be here. So they would definitely say, this guy's American. He shouldn't be here. But anyways, it's crazy when you look at the goaltenders over the last couple of years, and two goaltenders that I'm questioning. And I'll say this: Sorokin this year, last year, he was the second best goalie in the league. He was runner up for the goaltender of the year award up behind Allmark. He gets his 8-year contract worth about 60 something million. I think it was 68 million. And he's making about $8.5–9 million a year. And then all of a sudden this year, I've heard that obviously him and Shesterkin train in the offseason together with the same coach. And both of them started off the season really, really bad. Shesterkin has gotten better, and Sorokin has really been an even keel. I know he's averaging more shots than any goalie in the league. He's averaged more saves each game than any goalie in the league, but his goals against is high. His save percentage is low. Why do you think that Sorokin has had such a bad year?
I don't know. I mean, he definitely doesn't look as comfortable as it did last year and everything, right? And I don't know. I feel like since they changed coach and everything too, they are playing a little bit more offensive and everything, right? So the goalie is like a little bit more vulnerable back there, right? But yeah, like he's definitely not the same goalie as he was last year, and like if they want to make it in, I mean, they're gonna need him these last 6-7 games or like whatever's left.
Well, it's crazy because the Islanders right now are only a point behind Washington. So they have a chance, and they're only 2 points behind Philadelphia. The crazy thing about this is if the Islanders win out probably 5 out of their 6 games, they make the playoffs, and they probably get the 3rd seed in the Eastern Metropolitan Division. I mean, that's crazy for all the chasing. Look at Washington. Now, obviously, Tampa will be sitting as the first wild card because they're in the Atlantic Division, and the Atlantic Division is just dominant. You have Boston, you have Florida, you have Toronto. I mean, these guys, even the teams behind them and under them are fantastic. But it's crazy when you look at where the Islanders are. The Islanders could actually end up as the 3rd seed in the Metropolitan Division.
Yep.
Would you have thought that after the All-Star break, the way the Islanders were playing, they fire their coach and they bring in Patrick Roy?
Yeah, no, I mean, they've really been playing well as of late. And I remember everyone was hating on them in the beginning of the season for just like the boring hockey and no goals forward and right. So for them to have this opportunity to make the postseason, right? I mean, the East is so fun to watch now because there's so many teams still in it. I wish the Devils made a trade for my buddy Markstrom there in Calgary a little bit sooner, because I think that they probably would have clinched a playoff spot already if they had, right? So it's unfortunate, and I know that it was close, but yeah, there's still so many teams that can get in the West. I kind of feel like it's already set which teams are going to make it, right? So yeah.
Yeah, so you look at the trends of these goalies this year, like we were talking about with the Sorokin, even Vasilevsky. It took a while for him to get going. A lot of these bigger name goalies have been a little down for their standards this year. And you being a guy that's been a journeyman goalie, a backup goalie at certain teams, a starter with some others, and do you think that like platoon system that you saw Vegas do a lot and some of these other teams do in the playoffs could become more trendy in the NHL?
Yeah, I think so, and I mean, especially when you see that they actually won with that, right? I mean, I don't think anyone, and like I saw the interview with Drew Doughty as well, because everyone was questioning the 1-3-1, right? And as long as you're winning, I don't really think that anyone cares, right? And some part of the regular season it's like about entertainment, right? But the biggest thing that the fans care about is winning. So as long as you win, it fixes everything.
Well, don't say that to the Rangers and Islander fans, because the Rangers haven't won since 1994 and the Islanders haven't won since the 80s. So,
Yeah, I know, but it's been a long time since the Canadian team has won it too. So.
Yes.
well, I mean, if you're a
Yeah.
Toronto fan, I mean, that team with the talent they've had over the last, I don't know, 15, 20 years, the fact that they have only won one series in the last 10 years is just absolutely a joke. I mean, look at the talent on that team right now. I mean, it's from top to bottom one of the most talented teams in the league. You have arguably the third best player in the league in Austin Matthews. John Tavares, when they made a move to bring him in, he was one of the top 10 players in the league. And you still can't get over the hump. You can't play in the Eastern Conference Finals. You can't even play in the Stanley Cup Finals. I mean, it's crazy how bad the Maple Leafs have been over the last, I don't know, decade.
And then, Eddie, you mentioned Canada. Then you have Edmonton in the West with 2 of the 5 best players in the league, and they still can't. They only got to the Western Conference Finals once.
But they still get there. I mean, Toronto has Austin Matthews. You can argue he's the second or third best player in the league right now.
They don't have a goalie to take him there, though.
Yeah, but a lot of teams don't have a goalie. And you know this, Eddie, when it comes to the playoffs, there's probably, out of all these teams that make it, there's 8 teams that make it in the East. There's 8 teams that make it in the West. There's 16 teams in all. I would probably say 7 out of those 16 teams have good goalies. 7. And the Boston Bruins have 2 of them.
Yep.
They have 2 of them. And the Islanders actually have 2 of them too. And the Rangers. The Rangers have Jonathan Quick, who's won 3 Stanley Cups. I know everybody's going to say, well, he won 3, but when he was over there with the Golden Knights, he barely played. But he still won 3 of them. And he's one of the greatest American goaltenders to ever play. So, I mean, it's crazy, man. You know this, Eddie. I mean, it's not easy to find a great goaltender and a goaltender that actually plays well in big games.
Yeah. And but when you look at the Stanley Cup winners from like the last years, I mean, you have Hill that stood on his head last year. Right?
I couldn't believe that. Wow.
Kind of unexpected. He's always like had that game in him, right? Like Colorado won. I don't think it was thanks to Kemper that they won, right? But he still played like good when he had to. But like they just had such a good team in general, right? And then
how about St. Louis? You
have back-to-back Vasilevsky. You have Binnington. I mean, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, really, Tampa's the only exception to that right now with Vasilevsky.
You know, I never even thought of that. That's a good point, Eddie. I mean, when you look at some of these teams that have won Stanley Cups, most of these teams, they didn't have an elite goalie, and they still found they got a hot goalie that goes on these hot streaks. I mean, Binnington, I remember I was there at the Stanley Cup Finals in Boston, and Boston fans, you know, went from game 4 and game 5. Boston fans were like sitting there saying, "Oh, we got this," and Binnington was standing on his head. He was making saves I couldn't even believe. And I couldn't. But by the way, big ass. By the way, when I met him, and he would only speak to women broadcasters. He would not speak to any men. So, shout out to Mr. Binnington for being such an ass. I'm just being honest. He was an ass.
Yeah, and you're looking at that trend too. Like the Blues and the Golden Knights, like both kind of stacked their defense so they could do that kind of thing. Like you're saying, Eddie, they were playing 3 different goalies in the playoffs, Vegas, and still somehow won in the Blues. Bennington only came on later that season because Jake Allen, who you mentioned before, who got traded to the Devils, got hurt, and they got rid of Brian Elliott.
Yeah. And like, I mean, they were either last or second to last in the league, like in January, and then they just got hot, and like they just didn't stop, right? And Binnington got hot. I mean, it's you just have to get hot at the right time. I mean, just look at Florida, how far that they went last year, right? I mean, everyone thought that Boston was going to sweep them in like four like games, and then the Leafs were going to sweep them. I mean, like, you get hot and you have a hot goalie. I mean, anything can happen.
Yeah, Bobrovsky is a great goalie. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I expect Bobrovsky to really stand on his head, and he did in the playoffs. He earned every single penny the Florida Panthers are paying him, by the way. But Florida for years have always had good goalies. Roberto Luongo was there for many, many years. John Van Beesbrook was there. So, I mean, they've had good goaltending. And the Rangers for years, I mean, Henrik Lundqvist, Mike Richter, John Van Beesbrook. If you go up and down the rosters over the years, every decade, the Rangers, Eddie Jockerman, they've always had good goaltenders. The problem with those teams is when it comes to the playoffs and winning those big games, those game 7s and game 6s, they just can't pull it off. And hockey, you know this, Eddie, hockey's become a speed sport now. If you don't have the speed, you're not going to win.
Yeah. I mean, you need to have those guys that can win games on their own too, and like it goes for goalies, but it goes for players as well, right? And yeah, it's. I almost feel like this year is like the tightest one that I felt in a while, and this playoffs is going to be really interesting to like see, because like anyone that gets in
to win
can win. Like, you know.
Oh, I agree with you. I think it's going to be wide open. I think the NHL playoffs, out of all the sports, is the best to watch, especially the playoffs, because you don't know if it's going to go to 3 overtimes, 4 overtime. Last year, I think we saw a 4 overtime game in the playoffs. I mean, it's crazy, and the amount of abuse that these players give to these games to win those 7-game series is unbelievable.
Like the Wild and the Canucks had a 6 overtime game in like 06.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. It is fun to watch, and if you've never watched the NHL playoffs and you're too stuck up on the NBA or or any of the other sports, well, guys, start tuning into the hockey playoffs. It's the best. But anyways, Eddie, keep up the good work, my friend. I know you're busy. Keep selling those houses, man, and maybe one day we'll come down to Arizona and you show me around on some of the houses you've sold over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd love to.
All right, Eddie.
Thank you so much for having me on, guys.
Absolutely, man. Keep up the good work over there at Arizona State, man, and go get you a championship next year, buddy.
I appreciate it, brother. We'll talk to you soon, guys.
Absolutely. Eddie Lack, ladies and gentlemen, Arizona State goalie coach, fantastic personality, good person. And by the way, it's hard when you transition, when you move to America after coming from Sweden, living in Sweden practically 20 years of your life, and you come to America and learn the English language. I mean, for a guy that was fluent, Swedish and didn't know the American language, I mean, he's almost fully fluent. I mean, it's unbelievable. Some of these guys, it's not easy to come over here and learn our language. Our language is the hardest language to learn. It's crazy. Believe it or not, it is the hardest language to learn because there's so many words that we use.
So many words that don't even make sense phonetically. That just like the English language, there's no patterns the same way.
Taking a dump, Speedy. Like taking a dump.
Well, we know Shohei Ohtani hasn't learned it yet because he has had an interpreter that just got fired for doing illegal things.
Taking a dump.
Oh, maybe. Who knows? Maybe he got some of that.
That's illegal. Is that illegal in some countries?
I don't know. I get asked Ipe Mazahora if he used any of those profits to get a better bathroom.
Don't they have those toilets overseas that shoot water up your ass? I mean, isn't that true? What do they call that? What do they call? What is it? The bidet, right? That's interesting. I mean,
all right, there you go. So Ipe Mazahora.
Have you ever tried one of those?
I have not, but
really.
I'm sure Shohei Ohtani's interpreter has, if he's spending all that money
over there in Japan,
stealing it from his bank account. If those kinds of things exist in Japan, if he needs to do that to get that feeling, I'm sure he would want to do it.
Gross.
Yes. 3 for 3 tonight, Scoops. Very good. Very on point with the sound bites. Yes, Keith, NHL playoffs are the best. Hot goalies do win the cup. Yeah, that's what we're saying with the pattern now. Like, you're getting these teams that can, if they have a great defense, they can emerge with that kind of thing. Or if you're the Penguins that have the core with their offense of the way they had it, they were able to make it work with Matt Murray, who was the third string goalie in the playoffs that year. The backup, Fleury, was hurt at the beginning of that series. I remember they were playing the Rangers. Then the backup gets hurt in that series in the game 2. The Rangers won one game in game 3, and then Matt Murray just took over from there.
It is great to watch. The NHL playoffs, I know a lot of people don't want us talking hockey. I don't care what everybody wants. Hockey is so fun to watch at this time of year. I know it's an 82-game grueling season, and you hope your team is in the playoffs. You hope your team is successful enough to get into that tournament. And if you do, anything's possible if you have a great goalie. Like, if the Islanders sneak into the playoffs, nobody wants to play the Islanders. Nobody. Why? Because they have Varlamov and Sorokin. And all it takes is hot goaltending. And when you have two great goalies, all you got to do, when you get into the playoffs, it's a new season. It's completely different. What you do in the regular season means nothing what you do in the playoffs. So, and by the way, the Islanders are up 3-2 right now in the third period. They take the lead. So if the Islanders win, they're in a playoff spot once again. Actually, they jump, and I think they take over Philadelphia.
Well, yeah, they had a game of hand on Philadelphia, so it's just a matter of the point percentage, which the Flyers have been losing a lot in overtime. Did they catch up to the Islanders total yet? I don't. The end of the season has to determine with regulation wins first, so Philly would still have the tiebreaker if it came down to that, because the Islanders with 15 overtime losses, 33 regular wins, and then the Flyers 36. So I think they would still need to get one more point. They don't even need to win; they just need another point.
But Washington has 2 games in hand of the Islanders. So
right, so Washington is actually more likely to get that third spot right now, the way it's looking. And the Flyers did hit the skid.
What is their
the
schedule?
Islanders
What is their
need.
schedule right now?
The Islanders did hit, or the Flyers did hit the skid that they needed. The Capitals.
I have it up right here. Hold on. The Capitals right now have lined up. They have Carolina on Friday, tomorrow. Then they have the Senators. They have Detroit, the Sabres, the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Boston Bruins, and then Philadelphia. So I think their schedule is pretty easy. Yeah. I mean, it looks pretty easy. And they've played pretty good hockey. They lost against the Sabres, and they do play the Sabres on 11th again. They have Carolina, and then they have the Senators in Detroit. Now, Detroit's not going to be easy. They're fighting for a playoff spot, too. So it'll be interesting all the way to the end. It's going to be interesting. And the Islanders' schedule is pretty hard, too. They got to play the Rangers twice.
Right.
And the Rangers aren't just going to give those games away. Now, the Rangers have won every single game this year against the Islanders. So maybe if the Islanders can pull off and win the last 2 games of the season against the Rangers, the Islanders, that would give the Islanders the opportunity to sneak into the playoffs. And if they do, they could be very dangerous. I have a lot of Islander guys that work with me, so they sit there and they still believe in the Islanders. I don't, but that's just me.
It's crazy to think Washington now has a good likelihood of making the playoffs, where they have the least goals in the entire Eastern Conference.
I'm hard on the Islanders because I don't like the way they've played this year. And by the way, he says Florida has sucked recently. Yes, they have.
Okay, every team's gonna go to skid at some point.
No, but Florida is dangerous, and they have a great offense. Their first 2 lines are as good as any first 2 lines on any team right now in the playoffs, going into the playoffs. And they have pretty good defensemen too, with the goaltending that they have. So
this is a better defense in the regular season than they had last year. The defensive depth they had to trade for mostly at the trade deadline last year.
It's going to be fun. I love the NHL playoffs. And by the way, having somebody like Lack on the show, it gives you an understanding. And Eddie he's a knowledgeable guy. He's been in the NHL for 6 years. He's played for a couple of good organizations, and he understands what it takes to be a goaltender in the NHL. It's not easy to get into the NHL and stay there. He was in the NHL for 6 years.
Right.
So it says a lot about what he was as a talent. And listen, he's a great guy, great personality. By the way, to get back with the New York Jets, I mean, Speedy, what would you do? Would you trade out of that number 10 pick and try to build through the draft in the future? Because listen, Joe Douglas this is a make or break year for him. Mm-hmm. Why would you move back and try to get another pick if you don't win this year, you're gone. So that pick goes to the next guy that takes over for you.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't do that. If I was Joe Douglas and I have a Dunze over there, or if I have the offensive lineman that I really, really like, I'm snagging him up.
Yeah, I'm with you with the fact that, especially with the offensive line, because your two tackles, even though they're definitely improvements over what they had last year with Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses, they're still older. And Tyron Smith has been very injury prone at certain points in his career. And especially towards the end of his career, you have something where the Jets need to be able to protect Aaron Rodgers. And if Tyron Smith gets hurt again, or if Morgan Moses gets hurt like he did in Washington, he was healthy with the Jets the year that he had, but if he gets hurt again, the Jets are still in that same situation and everyone's going to be gone. So I can't imagine them, even if it's Fuaga, like even if, say, Oltz and Fashanu go off the board. If it's Fuaga, I don't know if you could still pass that up either. So why would you risk trading back? Now, the Raiders pick is only 3 picks back from the Jets. So maybe if Fuaga and somebody else is there, you could take a chance, because I don't think Minnesota's going to go offensive line because they have a good offensive line. The Broncos might, but
Broncos aren't going offensive line.
The Broncos could go in all different directions because they're a wild card of what they need, and they might probably just go for a best player available.
I think they're going to be reaching. I think all 3 of those teams, if you look at Minnesota right now, they need a quarterback. You look at the Broncos, they need a future quarterback. And if you look at a team like the Raiders, they need a quarterback. None of those teams have their future quarterback moving forward. And by the way, next year's draft class, as far as quarterbacks are concerned, is horrible. So this is the class that you would draft. And if you don't draft a quarterback in this year's class, you're going to be reaching next year.
Right. I'm willing to gamble on the fact that these teams are going to look at the upside of somebody like Penix. They do want to trade that quickly. And there's another rumor that the Vikings are very interested in Drake May too. So if Drake May, like I said yesterday, the Vikings could trade up to 3, all of a sudden, then you're dealing with a situation where the Patriots might not draft one either. So definitely a lot to go with. I think JJ McCarthy's still the ultimate wild card though, where he goes.
Carl says, with Diggs gone from Buffalo, who's the favorite to come out of the AFC East? That's a good question. Talent-wise, the Jets. Right. I mean, as far as up and down talent, or what the Jets done in this offseason, adding Hassan Reddick, adding the offensive linemen, if they could stay healthy, which they usually don't. But talent-wise, the Jets should be the team to come out of the East. But as of right now, because of the coach and what we've seen with the team like Miami and what Miami has done, I would say Miami they would be the number 1, and then the Jets. Those are the 2. That's where I would go. I would go Miami, Jets. But talent, straight up talent from all the teams in that division, I would say the Jets. The Jets have the most talent. They just have to stay healthy. That's the problem.
Yeah, Keith also says Vikings are interested in JJ, which another reason why I don't think they would trade up. Like, unless they're really that scared of the Giants, I don't think they would need to.
And by the way, there were 2 teams, Washington and the Patriots, that came out and said they will not trade their picks to the Giants.
Right.
Both those teams said that.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. I mean, that says a lot about what those teams think about the Giants organization. Yeah. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's a proves mess more than anything else.
I mean, I agree with you, Keith. As far as talent is concerned, the Jets are the most, if not the most talented team in the AFC. They're one of the top 3 most talented team in the AFC. But talent doesn't get you over the hump. They have to stay healthy, and they got to produce. If they start off strong and they can keep Aaron Rodgers on his feet, yes, the Jets should win the division, and it shouldn't even be close. I think the Jets win the division. They win 12 games this year. Yeah. I mean, because they're much better than Buffalo. They're much better than the Patriots, and they're better than the Miami Dolphins. So this could be the first time that the Jets actually, win 5 of the 6 division games, or 4 out of the 6 division games.
Right.
So
all 3 of those teams have been really bad at managing injuries too. So that'll also be the wild card. The Jets, Dolphins, look at the Dolphins at the end of the year, and then the Bills.
I mean, what the Buffalo gave up this offseason, they gave up pretty much their secondary. They gave up their best wide receiver. They lost their second best wide receiver. And now they have to rebuild and restructure that offensive line that's getting old. They lost their center too.
Right.
So they're rebuilding from top to bottom, and they do have Josh Allen, but Josh Allen can't do everything. He's not a defensive player, and he's not an offensive lineman, even though sometimes he looks like one.
Before we get Johnny on for Let's Parlay, Ben also says, I think Miami will surprise people, and Keith says, truth, they are the Jets. Something will go wrong.
That's true. I agree with that. I'm a Jet fan, and I would tell you that too. I don't trust the Jets that they're going to stay healthy all season long. And look, Aaron Rodgers will stay healthy, and so will that offensive line. And then Garrett Wilson will go down in the second or third game, out for the season. And they have Mike Williams as their number one guy, and they could have gotten a Dunze at number 10, and they pass up on him. That's Jet-like. I'm telling you right now, that's Jet-like. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we will have Let's Parlay with Reno Johnny. Just Reno Johnny tonight. No Wes. He's over there in Chicago dealing with whatever he's dealing with over there in Chicago. Derek's hanging out with the woman. And Chaz is, I don't know, walking on the wild side. So when we come back, Let's Parlay with Reno Johnny. But first, our Sports Minute with our friend, Tommy Scoops.
This is the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute.
Are you ready to get loud?
With Tommy Scoops.
That is right, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, another Loudmouth Sports Minute with the Tommy Scoops. And right now for today's report, in the NBA, Jalen Brunson, Knicks point guard Jalen Brunson, said that he is open for an extension this offseason. Having a career year, all-time all-star, he is definitely going to get his contract extension in the offseason. And over in women's college basketball, Kaylin Clark, after a record-breaking year, she has just won the Naismith Women's Player of the Year award. As I said, she has a record-breaking year, most likely going to the WNBA, and looking forward to the Final Four this week. Over in the NFL, veteran linebacker earlier today, Kyle Van Noy, announced that he will be returning to the Ravens. The Ravens will be bringing back the veteran linebacker on a 2-year deal worth $9 million with incentives available. Now it's going to be time for Scoops and Scores, where I'm going to give you a rundown again of currently the NBA games, where currently Sacramento has an 84-78 lead over New York. Right now, Philadelphia and Miami are tied at 87 apiece. Dallas has a 92 lead over Atlanta, 92-77 lead over Atlanta. And at halftime, Golden State has a 65-50 lead over Houston. Over in the NHL right now, Tampa Bay has a 6-2 lead over Montreal, while Florida has a 6-0 lead over Ottawa, 3-0 for the Pittsburgh Penguins over Washington, and currently 3-1 over Boston has 3-1 over Carolina, with the Islanders having 3-2 over the Blue Jackets. Nashville has a 2-1 lead over St. Louis, and Colorado currently has a 3-1 lead over Minnesota. That's currently all the time I have for you guys. Once again, I'm going to send it back over for right now. Our next segment, Let's Parlay.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
Six 631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey. Remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me, Speedy Petey, and Sean Smith, every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings, go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Don't worry, Carl. Don't worry. As long as OG Anunoby comes back, I'm going to tell you the Knicks will have a chance this year. I do. OG is the important piece to the Knicks' success, especially on the perimeter. One of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. And by the way, Julius Randle is a horrible playoff player. He is the bricklayer of the New York Knicks. So I'm not really crying about losing Julius Randle. But first, ladies and gentlemen, or for now, we have Let's Parlay with Reno Johnny.
It's time for Let's Parlay.
What are you giggling over there? What's so funny over there?
You're muted.
You're muted. What's up with you guys? Everybody's on the mute button. Unmute them.
There we go.
There you
Yeah,
go.
sorry,
What are you smiling about over there? Are you drinking?
No, man. I actually am coming into a game right now with this league I play in. And I thought y'all kicked it over to me, but then the song started playing.
Motley Crue. I like that shirt.
Yeah.
My friend Barry is a diehard Motley Crue fan. Him and his son like dress up as Motley Crue every single year for Halloween, and they go out there and they sing their songs.
Oh yeah, they're one of my favorites. I had my wife watch the movie. The Dirt. That was a good movie. So
I never
after
checked
that
it out.
movie,
I got to check it out. The Motley Crue on Netflix.
yeah, it's pretty good, dude. Check it out. It's called The Dirt. It's just really, really good. But yeah, so I'm at a game right now, going into a game right now. I got a couple plays for you, and I'll make it quick. Let's get into. I got 4, right?
Yes, 4.
So first off, let's just say it. Zach Edey, most overrated player in college basketball in the history of college basketball. He's so overrated. And look, he's big, he scores a lot, but I'll tell you this right now: that was the worst 40-point game I've ever seen. He fouls more than any big man that should foul for being 7'4". They just don't call it because he's so big and he flops around, and it just looks like he's getting fouled when he's the one doing all the pushing. He's overrated. That being said, his size is going to be tough for NC State to deal with. So I'm probably going to lay it with Purdue. I hate Purdue. I can't stand Purdue. His size will probably be too much for Purdue to deal with. It's the most likable guy in the NCAA tournament. Against the most unlikable guy in the NCAA tournament. And I'll say it, Zach Edey, nobody likes Zach Edey. There's a reason why. He didn't come back for unfinished business. He came back because he's not going to make it in the NBA. That's what happened. However, we'll lay the points with Purdue. The other game, it's just too many points. It's 8.5 on the Purdue game. The other game is too many points. We're actually going to probably take Alabama. If you can get 12, that's what I kind of got it at. It got bet back down to 11.5. Look, I think UConn's winning it all. I think they're the most well-rounded team. They haven't. You're shaking your head over there. We'll talk next week, but they're definitely winning it all. I just think it's a lot of points. I'm going to take. Alabama can pop the 3. They're one of the highest scoring teams in college basketball with Sears and with Stevenson maybe knocking down some 3s. I think that they can hang around, even if they kind of get a big deficit. Their 3-point shooting should be able to keep them in the game even late because they can shoot that ball so well. High-octane offense, going to be hard to cover 12. If you look at the averages, you're asking UConn to score about 94 to cover because Alabama scores so much. Not sure that's going to be the case there. So we'll take the points in that game. That's all I got for college basketball. Couple baseball plays. I think we're going to get good value on the Orioles on Friday night against the Pirates. The Pirates have had a hot start. They won again today at 7-2. You're looking at a little bit of value on this Orioles team. You're not going to get them at a minus 120, minus 125. You're going to get them on Friday night. So that's what we're going to do there. And then the Red Sox. I think the Red Sox are actually probably one of the better teams in the MLB this year compared to what they were supposed to be. They're supposed to be the bottom of the AL East. Started 5-2. I actually think that this team can hit, and their pitching isn't as bad as most people think. So that being said, I think this AL East is going to be a monster division this year. Monster division. You got the Yankees, the Orioles, the Blue Jays, the Rays, Red Sox, all capable of finishing about at least 5 games over 500. So it's going to be a monster division. But they're playing the Angels. We know what the Angels are. Angels are going to be a lot of solo shots from Trout, from Ward, nobody on base. They're going to lose a lot of games 10-3, 10-2, just the way they are. I think they're going to be able to the Red Sox come in there and handle business on Friday night. So those are my 4 plays for this week, and we'll see. I'll talk for sure. I'll be on next Wednesday. I'll make it a point to be on next Wednesday.
You do that because after my Purdue boil the UConn, Huskies out of, where is the championship going to be?
It's in Phoenix.
It's in Phoenix.
Oh, right by you.
It's far away from me.
It's in San Antonio.
What are you running? What are you going? Are you going for a jog before the game?
I got my freaking shoes, man. I gotta get my shoes in my car.
Are you playing? Are you actually playing?
Yeah, man. We playing a little beer league. I do. Get a little cardio in. We play in a league. It's a bunch of older guys, that try to relive the glory days.
Oh, the glory days. And what's that? When you score 5 points in a game?
Okay. My high school stats were pretty legit. All right. I was scoring about 8 and 10. 8 points, 10 boards,
How tall are you?
I'm 6'1", 6'2".
All right. You're not that.
Yeah. I score.
Hey,
I shoot. Oh shit! I shoot threes. I shoot about 40% from three.
Uh-huh.
I don't shoot a lot. Like I'm
How-
very
hold
like.
on, wait. How do you score? How do you shoot 40% when you only shoot what 1, 2, 3-pointers a game?
Yeah, I'm very like so. I have good rebounding, good defense. I shoot about 40%, but I only shoot from three. I only shoot maybe 2 a game,
Interesting.
3 a game, but I'll knock them down.
All right. By the way, we have our second straight pop in. Now we have Chaz popping in.
Chaz is trying to fix his background. That's what he's trying.
Well, as
My green screen's not
Chaz,
working again.
as Chaz pops in, I have to pop out. So
Go get him, big guy.
I'll talk to you next week when you
my Purdue
steamrolls Purdue.
UConn. Yeah, that's right.
Steamrolls Purdue.
Just so you know, before the tournament, and I had Purdue winning the national champion 3 games into the season, just so you know. And I had UConn versus Purdue in the national championship. So just so you know. And I have Purdue knocking off the UConn Huskies. So there you go.
Man, Zach Edey's just a big doof.
Yeah, he's a big doof, but he puts up the numbers, baby. He puts up the numbers. That's
I'll
all
see
it is.
y'all next week, guys.
All right, man. Enjoy yourself. Stay out of trouble and don't hurt your ankles. Yeah, maybe he hurt his knees, Speedy. Maybe you should teach him how to get on his knees. How do you think?
Oh God.
What do you think?
Sorry, Chaz. You had to come in all this. I don't know if you wanted to come in all this.
I am. I'm actually going over to the brackets for the group.
Okay.
To see what's going on with our Final Four brackets.
Oh, you look so happy. I mean, look at Chaz.
I'm healthy. I don't know if I'm happy, but I'm healthy.
Yeah, you're healthy. You're healthy.
All right, so where
it.
is that? My brackets groups. My groups. Here we go.
Errol's in the lead right now. 720. You're at 620, Chaz.
All
second.
righty. So
here we go. Whee!
groups. Show groups.
Screw you, Jeff.
Jeff didn't join the group.
Well, he would have lost.
I already, except for if I messaged him on Twitter.
Let me tell you something. Let me say something about Jeff, all right? Because I give Jeff a lot of credit on some of the stuff, but he will never give me credit for any of the things that I do and I'm right about. Oh, you should have bet on it. If you're not a betting man, it's not even worth even saying who you think is going to win. I have to bet money to prove that I have some knowledge in what I'm saying? I mean, seriously. So, and by the way, Purdue is winning the national championship. There's no.
So Purdue has to win the national championship, or I win the pool if UConn wins it.
Well, that's right.
However, I will tell you a great story if you're up for a great story. My son is watching J.B. Burns Jr.
Mm-hmm.
This is the tournament. We're in the ACC. Where are they?
NC State.
ACC, yes.
Yeah, ACC tournament, right? And he sees this big guy. So I asked him, they keep showing his father in the stands. I said, what's his father's name? And they hesitated for a minute, and then they kind of chuckled because they realized it's probably DJ Burns Sr., right? But he liked him so much and the way he controlled the paint that he took him and put him in his bracket all the way to where they are now. He's going into this bracket with Alabama, North Carolina State, UConn, and I think he had somebody that lost. So he's got 3 of the 4, but in his group, it's worth money. And there's 3 guys left. He's one of them. But if North Carolina State somehow pulls off the miracle and beats Purdue, he can't lose because nobody else had North Carolina State. Even if he loses, he wins,
It's not going to happen. So.
Yeah, so we'll see. I'm telling you right now, I looked at that game. So before we do anything, quickly, Petey, give me Jonathan's place.
All right, so he had Purdue covering the spread versus NC State. Alabama covers against UConn, and then he had 2 baseball ones. Orioles money line versus the Pirates, and Red Sox versus the Angels on Friday.
Orioles Pirates?
Orioles Pirates is tomorrow.
They're going already interdivision, and they.
No, they're Pirates are National League.
Yeah, Orioles are right.
They're American League.
Yeah, they don't normally. Don't they wait a week or two before they go?
In league. I thought he said in division.
I might have. Yeah, what was the fourth one?
And then he has the Red Sox against the Angels tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. He did pick Purdue because he wants to see UConn knock them off, but that's not going to happen. Purdue is going to knock off NC State. That's a winner right there. UConn will beat Alabama, and it will be UConn versus Purdue.
Now, here's what I got.
Purdue will win their first.
I got. I looked at in the tournament. I looked at the fouls, and I looked at the foul trouble that both these two big guys got into, and I think that's going to change dramatically in this game because my contention is the only way you're going to beat Edey is everybody in your team has to play their best game. I probably said this before. Play their best game at the same time. But that guy he's a beast in the middle. There's no doubt about it. And that's why my son fell in love with him because he's like the big round amoeba. But you know what? I guess it was, remember, because the coach probably was getting fired, right? That's what it sounds like. And then they win the tournament, so that kicks in a bonus. He gets 2 more years guaranteed, and he keeps winning. So, I don't think they're going to win, but for my son's sake, I sure hell am going to root pretty hard for him. But yeah, so Edey's only had 8 fouls in the last 4 games, and Burns has had 3, 1, and 4. That's going to be the big part of the game. The key to this game is if anything happens in foul trouble. So I tried to come up with a parlay, which are my top 4 plays for these 2 games Saturday, because Johnny Dillon, remember from the old Sports Betting Weekly, he's coming back into town. He lives in Vegas now. And so we're getting together.
I see him always in Vegas, hanging out at all the casinos.
He tends to be a big hanger-outer.
Yeah, he is.
Here's what I got. I had over. I wanted both over. Their team total, their points over. Edey's been over every game. It's funny because offshore you can bet on Caitlin Clark to go over. You can't get it in Vegas, but she was over. So I've got over 26.5. Edey, that's minus 125, and I got over 15.5 for Burns. That's minus 105. But it wouldn't let me parlay though. So then I went to my next best bet, which is I like UConn, but so many points. So I bought it down to minus 9.5 at minus 170. This way, because really, if you look at a game, say the finals 80 to 90, 90 to 80, right? And you look and it's a 10-point win. Doesn't that feel like that team dominated? They won by 10, right? But they're giving 11.5, so it don't give you a squat. So I took 9.5, minus 170, but I couldn't parlay that with the other stuff. And then I looked at their last 6 games. Here's what Alabama scored: 89, 89, 72, 109, 88, 87. Sounds impressive, right? Until you flip the switch and you look at UConn's last 5. They've allowed 52, 52, 58, 52, and 57.
52.
So I'm going under 74.5, minus 110. Alabama under. So that was my parlay. Burns over 15.5, Edey over 26.5, Alabama under 74.5, and UConn minus 9.5. But they wouldn't let me parlay it. So I kept messing around with parlays. And I like
that green screen behind you. Can we parlay that?
Yeah, you know what? I got 2. I got actually 2 green screens here.
Yeah, I see that.
Didn't have time to put the second one up.
There,
So here's what I came up with. I said I really like Purdue in the over, and I like Connecticut in the under. That's what I like. But I don't like those point spreads, and they're not letting me play games with the money line right now. And I don't want to go money line because these are double-digit dogs. Money line is, not even worth betting it. These money lines are like Apollo soccer money line. He says, I want you to bet on that Gramio will score half a goal, and it's minus 780. I got to have $780 to make $100. I can go to Home Depot, work in a guy's yard for a couple hours, make $100. You know what I mean? Guaranteed money. So here's what I got. I got those 4, and then I got Purdue and over, UConn and under in a round robin with 3s and 4s, and it pays the parlay. The 4-teamer pays $11.74. The round robin 3s, if it all hit, pays plus 2,597. So that's 26 to 1. That's not too bad. But I like Purdue -7 at -165 and the over 145 at -130. So I'm betting these two games two different ways. First thing I'm doing is I'm betting the parlay with the old school. Remember growing up when the bookie would come to your house on Wednesday when you're eating? I was in high school and the bookie pull up in the driveway and I have to leave dinner, tell my mom I was going out to see Jerry and somehow slide in the money. Or pick up on Tuesdays is when you paid, Wednesdays is you got paid. But that was all you had back then was money. You had the team and the over-under. That was it, 4 bets. There was no how many points, the guy, how many assists the guy would have. You didn't have any of that stuff. So I'm doing that old school Purdue and over, UConn and under parlay. But I'm also going to bet straight bets. Purdue game over 145, Purdue -7, UConn -9.5, and the under 163.5. So
all right,
we'll see what happens.
Well, we really appreciate you joining us as always, Chaz. Stay out of trouble, man.
And don't forget now, I'm doing the UFL data. So by, I don't know, next week, maybe the week after that, I'll be ready to talk spring football.
All right. Sports betting back.
I mean, do you really care if we give out winners? Do you really care where they come from?
No. As long as they're winners,
Yeah, exactly. I like
All
that
right,
attitude.
Jazzy,
All right, guys.
Next.
Hey, enjoy the games. It should be good.
Oh, I know. Absolutely.
Good luck in the pool. I'm looking for you. I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you.
Good. Look at that.
We'll talk.
Flex there. I'm flexing. Anyways, when we come back, ladies and gentlemen, he is a first timer on our show. He's doing a lot of great things on YouTube. We will be talking to, yes, ladies and gentlemen, Chat Sports Steelers and NFL analyst Jack Sperry here on the Sports Loudmouth. But before we get him on, we have our Sports Minute with Tommy Scoops.
This is the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute.
Are you ready to get loud?
With Tommy Scoops.
That is right, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, you know what time it is. It is the Loudmouth Sports Minute report with Tommy Scoops himself. So, in the NBA right now, current head coach Steve Clifford for the Hornets is actually stepping down. So, the team actually has permission to interview top assistants for teams such as the Nuggets, Kings, Celtics, and Suns, looking to get a new head coach in there. Men's college basketball news. Seton Hall has just won the NIT tournament after a late rally to beat Indiana State, capturing their second title and their second NIT appearance. In NFL news, the Giants just announced that they brought in Penn State defensive end Chop Robinson for a pre-draft visit earlier today. Chop Robinson also has a visit tomorrow with the New York Jets. Right now, I'm going to go over the scoops of scores. We're right now in the NBA. Currently, we have Sacramento and the New York Knicks with a 99-95 lead right now. And Miami has a 102-96 lead over Philadelphia, with Dallas having a 100-93 lead over Atlanta. Golden State has a 79-63 lead over Houston, and Tampa. In NHL news, currently Tampa Bay has a 6-4 lead over Montreal, with Pittsburgh having a 3-1 lead over Washington. Boston currently has a 4-1 lead over Carolina, and the Islanders have a 4-2 lead still over the Blue Jackets. Nashville has currently a 2-1 lead over St. Louis, with Colorado having a 3-2 lead over Minnesota. It's currently all the time I have right now for you guys, and to send it back over to the boys for their next guest on the Sports Loudmouth.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy. Yes, it's Speedy PD, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully, he's wearing underwear today. Are you wearing underwear? Yeah. Okay. Just asking. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me, Speedy PD, and ex-NFL player Sean Smith, every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all our shows, you go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Thank you to ex-NHL player Eddie Lack for joining us, Arizona State goalie coach for joining us. But this guy has been waiting. He's doing great things right now on YouTube. And I told Speedy, reach out to some of these YouTubers. I want to get them on a show. I want to talk some sports with them. And we are now talking to Chat Sports Steelers and NFL analyst Jack Sperry. Jack, what's up, buddy?
It's good, guys. Good to see you. Thanks for having me on.
This is the first time that you've been on our show. I don't know if you think we're crazy, but by the end of this interview, you're probably going to think we're really nuts. But I've been checking out all the stuff that you're doing on YouTube. It's fantastic. So let's get into it. Your Steelers. I mean, there's so much to get into what they have done this offseason. They bring in Russell Wilson, and then they made an unbelievable trade. I think this was a great trade, only giving up a 6th-round draft pick for Mr. Justin Fields. What were your thoughts after bringing in a guy like Russell Wilson and then making a trade for a guy like Justin Fields?
Well, this was crazy because we were told for weeks that it was going to be a competition between Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph. And it's like, you know, you got the 10 wins last year with that. You made the playoffs, but nobody really gave them a shot against that Bills team, right? Nobody really was talking about them as legitimate title contenders in any way. And it just seemed like if you ran it back with Pickett, who, let's face it, had a really, really tough couple of seasons there to kick off his NFL career. And, you know, you can attribute that to Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator, and, you know, all these different things. But at the end of the day, it just wasn't getting the job done. And as much as I appreciate what Mason Rudolph did in his time as the starter of that team, I don't think anybody's thinking Mason Rudolph is going to win you a Super Bowl or have you contend for a Super Bowl. So when they went out and they made that move for Russell Wilson, and by the way, I was advocating for them to make that move for weeks, because not only is this somebody that has had a bunch of success in this league, he's won a Super Bowl, he's been to 2, he nearly won both of them, but he's also somebody that last year, I mean, I'm not saying he's better than Mahomes, but he had a better passer rating than Patrick Mahomes last year, had a higher touchdown percentage, a lower interception percentage. And, you know, maybe the guy that has a better passer rating than Patrick Mahomes isn't a terrible quarterback, right? So you get a guy like that. And not only do you get a guy like that, but you get him for literally nothing. The league minimum, vet minimum for a guy that's been in the league for that long. I mean, it's $1.2 million. I mean, you're paying him nothing. So I love that move to get Russell Wilson as like that 35-year-old veteran with playoff experience, and then to completely fleece the Chicago Bears again, man. They did it with the Chase Claypool trade a couple of years back, where they actually got more in the Chase Claypool trade than the Bills got for Stephon Diggs, if you think about it, which is absolutely nuts, given that Chase Claypool's out of the league right now. But making that trade for Justin Fields, it's a 6th-round pick, conditional. He has to play over 50% of the offensive snaps this year in order for that to turn into a 4th-round pick. So I love both moves here. I think you really got better at the position, and you got a good plan A in Russell Wilson. And then if it doesn't work out, you got a high upside, young, talented quarterback option in Justin Fields to turn to.
Actually, one of the things I was discussing with my brother this weekend was the fact that Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, because they have their mobility, is like they could even do some like dual threats things with both of them on the field at the same time too, with the running backs that they have. And Arthur Smith, we know, did that a lot in Atlanta. Is that something you would actually consider with the Steelers?
Absolutely, man. I think that they're going to have a package for Justin Fields. He's probably going to be like the 4th and short goal line, kind of like push kind of guy. You know, he's a big guy, strong. Obviously, Russell's shorter. He's strong too. But, you know, if you want somebody to just get into the scrum there, I think Justin Fields is going to be your guy. And then they're going to run some Taysom Hill kind of stuff in there. He's a better passer than Taysom. But, like, you know, if you want to kind of get creative with that, you can absolutely do that. And, hell, they could even put Russell Wilson and Justin Fields on the same field at the same time and kind of get creative with that stuff too. So I really respect Arthur Smith as an offensive play caller. I think he knows what he's doing. And I think he has some stuff up his sleeve here with Justin Fields coming to town.
We are talking to Chat Sports Steelers and NFL analyst Jack Sperry. Follow him in his YouTube page. Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. It's fantastic. He knows everything about the Steelers, and he gives you some really good content. You know, the AFC North was so wide open all season long. Everybody said that the Ravens ran off with it, but the Browns were good. The Steelers were good. Even the Bengals, they lose Joe Burrow for the whole season. Browning comes out of nowhere, puts up some good numbers for a backup quarterback that nobody's ever heard of. As a matter of fact, the only thing I like to look at is his girlfriend. That was about it. But hey, you know what? This was the best division in football going into the offseason. All the acquisitions the Steelers made, some of the moves that the Ravens made, adding a running back, as we all know, Derrick Henry is going to be their star running back. And then even the Browns, some of the moves that they made, and the Bengals. Do you still think that this is the best division in football? And do you think that the Ravens could run away with this division once again this year?
So the new thing with HBO's Hard Knocks in season is that they're going to be doing a whole division. If they don't choose the AFC North, the showrunners there don't know what they're doing, all right? Because you got 4 really good teams, a bunch of great storylines. If it's not the AFC North next year, I'm going to be pretty disappointed as a football fan, not just as a Steelers fan. But when it comes to the Ravens, they're going to be tough to beat, man. Now the Steelers swept them last year, even with their quarterback play. Mike Tomlin has done a really good job against Lamar Jackson in his career. I think his completion percentage is like 55% or lower in his career against the Steelers. So he has not played well against the Steelers defense in his career. Even Kenny Pickett was able to beat him last year. So I have a feeling the Steelers will at least, get one win against the Ravens. But Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, all the weapons that they've got there, I have a feeling they're going to add another weapon in the draft of some sort. Keep your eye on Xavier Worthy out of Texas in round 1, because imagine if you have to stop that freight train of Derrick Henry with that jitterbug of a quarterback in Lamar Jackson, and you got Xavier Worthy, who just broke the record for the 40 time at the Combine, taking the top off the defense with Zay Flowers, that incredible route runner in the intermediate, plus Mark Andrews. So it's like, I have a feeling Xavier Worthy is going to be a Baltimore Raven. And that offense is just going to be so difficult to stop. And we all know how good that defense was last year. So they're definitely going to be a big-time threat to the Kansas City Chiefs. You can make an argument that they might be the best overall roster in the National Football League right now. It's just a matter of whether Lamar's going to get the job done in the postseason.
Don't forget about the Jets. I mean, I am a Jet fan, and the Jets have made some good acquisitions too this offseason. It is the Jets. It is the Jets. So I'm not going to expect these guys to stay healthy all season long. But on paper, the Jets are as talented as any team in the AFC.
Jack made it very clear, though, he doesn't want any other division besides the AFC North. So no more Aaron Rodgers on Hard Knocks.
I mean, we got the whole Rodgers spiel last year. All right, now let's go to Lamar, Russell, Justin Fields. I mean, at that point in the season, we might be getting into a little bit of a QB controversy there with the Steelers. So it's going to be pretty interesting once we get into the second half of the season next year.
I love Justin Fields. I love him. And I think you made the right. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers made the right decision giving up a 6th-round draft pick for him. I think he's the future quarterback of this Pittsburgh Steelers team. I think he wins the job from Russell Wilson before the season even starts.
Before the season, that's an interesting take.
Yes.
I would personally disagree. And the reason why I would disagree with that is that the Steelers are incentivized to at least give Russell a shot to start the season, because if you play Justin from the word go, that 6th-round pick immediately turns into a 4th-round pick, because if he plays over 50% of the snaps, that turns into a 4th-round pick. All right, so that doesn't mean that they won't do that, especially if he outperforms them in camp, whatever. But I think that Russell Wilson's going to get a shot to perform in this offense. And I think that what Arthur Smith wants to do really accentuates what Russell Wilson does well. Play action passing has been the bread and butter of his career. That's what made him so effective in Seattle with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, throwing the ball deep to them off of play action. And that's exactly what Arthur Smith wants to do with George Pickens as the X receiver here in Pittsburgh. So he doesn't really turn the ball over. He's got a great deep ball. He's going to be asked to just kind of be a play action deep ball passer. And I think that's something he can absolutely do. And then also kind of the third thing that they're looking for is somebody with playoff experience, somebody that's been on that big stage, isn't going to crumble. So even though I think it's possible Justin Fields is the potential long-term option, Russell Wilson is going to have to play, I think, pretty poorly in order for Justin Fields to kind of usurp him And I think Russ is going to get at least a shot to start the season.
I hope not. I mean, for every single team he's ever played for, how many players have come out and thrown Russell Wilson under the bus? In Seattle, Marshawn Lynch came out. We've heard Richard Sherman come out. Everybody, and now I'm hearing some stories that Pete Carroll going to be making a book. I can't wait until that book comes out, because I can't wait to hear what he has to say about Russell Wilson on what was going on in that locker room. And then the whole thing that was going on with Denver, give me a break. Listen, I think it was a great move by them, bringing in a guy that was only worth, 1.3, 1.2 million. I think it's a steal, but I think Justin Fields deserves an opportunity. I think he's going to outwork him. I think Justin Fields, I really thought Chicago should not have given up on him. I think he's the perfect fit, and he has the perfect repertoire to be a good quarterback in this league. Look at Lamar Jackson. He's a bigger, stronger, and I believe all around better Lamar Jackson. And I think that the guy didn't get the chance in Chicago. They didn't give him enough weapons. And last year when they did have weapons, they couldn't stay healthy. So that was the problem. And I believe that a guy like Justin Fields over here with your team, the Steelers, they have a great defense. I think they're built very, very well. They have a great coach, a player's coach. And I think it's all going to fall together for Justin Fields. I think he wins the job before the season starts. I think the team will fall in with Justin Fields. Look at what DJ Moore said about Justin Fields. He didn't want him to go. How many players came out and tried to speak up for Justin Fields? He's our guy. We want him to be our guy. And they gave up on him. I thought Chicago made a big mistake. I'm not saying Caleb Williams isn't going to be great, but Justin Fields deserved an opportunity, a full season with weapons all around him. Now with George Pickens, I love George Pickens. I followed him when he was in Georgia. I thought he should have been a first-round draft pick because of the knee injury. He fell to the second round. This guy had 1,200 yards with that crap of a quarterback play last year. This guy's going to put up 1,500 yards. This guy's going to be the number one target. No more Deontay Johnson. The guy stinks. He's been on my football. He's been on my draft team. I drafted him 2 years in a row, and the guy can't stay healthy. Thank God he's gone. But I think the Steelers, they have some weapons. I think they can run the ball. They have two great running backs, and I think they're going to put up the numbers this year with the defense that they have. Get Justin Fields in the game. Give up on that Russell Wilson kind of thought, okay? You're a guy. You're a Pittsburgh guy. Let's go with Justin Fields. Let's chant Justin Fields, baby. I love it.
Listen, man, I wouldn't be opposed for Justin to play, especially if Russell has a bad stretch of 3 or 4 games. The team's not winning. You know, he's not getting the ball in the end zone. All these different things. All right. But what I'll say about Justin Fields and the reason why they're bringing him in, I actually don't think that their plan A is to have Justin Fields as the long-term starting quarterback. And that might be surprising to hear because he is still very young. He has all these amazing physical attributes. He's the best rushing quarterback in the National Football League, in my opinion. But Russell Wilson is 35 years old. All right, Kirk Cousins is 35 years old. He just signed a brand new massive 4-year contract. All right, so Russell Wilson, if he plays well, he can absolutely carve out, 4, maybe 5 more years, especially with the way he takes care of his body. So listen, man, I think that the plan A for the Pittsburgh Steelers and the way they see it right now is that if Russell Wilson has success, he has a good season, the team gets to 12, 13 wins, and they compete not only for the division, but then they compete in the playoffs, brings home a playoff win. I think it's going to be really tough to replace him at that point in the season, and it's going to be hard to replace him moving forward because it's like if Fields sits the bench and maybe comes in for a couple package plays during the season, but Russ is the guy that got them the 12, 13 wins and a playoff win, then I think it's going to be really tough to move off Russell Wilson and go with Justin Fields and go with the unproven entity. Now, with that being said, Mike Tomlin loves Justin Fields. Maybe I'm completely wrong on this, and Fields gets his shot and he gets it early, maybe even week 1, like you're proposing. But at the end of the day, man, I think they got Russell Wilson first for a reason. And I think when they saw, hey, we can get Justin Fields for a 6th-round pick as our backup quarterback option, they jumped at the chance because that's better than a Ryan Tannehill or whatever option they would have got in NFL free agency. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm kind of on the Russ train until he kind of proves me otherwise. But I'm certainly open to Justin Fields coming up and improving himself if Russell doesn't end up being the guy.
By the way, if everybody doesn't know who we're speaking to, we're talking to Chat Sports Steelers and NFL analyst Jack Sperry. Follow him on YouTube, his page, Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. You know, it's funny that you have this love fest for Russell Wilson. We love it. The only thing I love about Russell Wilson is Ciara, okay? If Ciara's on the football field and she's the running back and she's playing running back, I want Russ on the field. Besides that, I want to see Justin Fields. I think he's the more talented quarterback. Russell Wilson has been a part of organizations that have had good defenses everywhere he's gone. Even with the Broncos, that defense fell apart when Russ was there. Maybe because Russ didn't get along with anybody in the locker room. And what's going to happen when Russell Wilson opens his big fat mouth over there in Pittsburgh and pisses people off in that locker room? Because there are mighty big personalities in that locker room, and they're not going to sit still as we saw Seattle do it, because Pete Carroll was like, you don't talk to Russ like that. And then the Broncos, we all know that, a coach over there didn't really like him. He just inherited him last year and said, you know what? You're not having your own office. I am taking that office. It's my office. So, and you guys, everybody knows who I'm talking about.
The Roonies wouldn't even think to construct anything like that. So the Steelers will be fine.
Sean Payton is a guy that never wanted Russell Wilson. I don't think anybody on that team liked Russell Wilson. Jerry Jeudy came out after he was traded to the Browns recently and said a couple of interesting things about Russell Wilson. If you have all these guys, Mr. Jack Sperry, coming out and saying these things about Russell Wilson, what will change if he goes to Pittsburgh and succeeds over there? I don't think Russell Wilson has an IQ, an unbelievable NFL IQ. Problem with him is he thinks he's bigger than the team. He's always thought that, and that's his problem.
Well, what I'd say about that is, there's guys that maybe, Russ rubbed them the wrong way. And he's definitely not for everybody. But for every Marshawn Lynch or Richard Sherman, there's also a Brandon Marshall. There's also a DK Metcalf. There's also a Cortland Sutton, all of which have completely stood up for Russ. And they have said that he's a great teammate. He's a great leader. And he's not going to be somebody that's going to necessarily, rub everybody the right way, like I said. But I do think that he is somebody that, he's going to go in there. Of course, he's going to be a big personality. But if the team is winning, I really don't think it's going to matter that much. And really, when I'm looking at it from a football perspective, I think it's a really good fit. I think it will actually end up working out here. And if it doesn't, you can just put in Justin Fields and you can see where that goes moving forward. But I'm really excited to see what Russ looks like in the black and gold next year. I think it's going to be relatively successful. If you got the 10 wins with Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky, and then Mason Rudolph, I think that with this defense, with the weapons that they're going to have, with the run game that they're going to have, with the improved offensive architecture that they're going to have, I think they're going to get up to 10, 11, 12 wins, maybe even up to 13 is probably like a max out kind of point. But I'm very optimistic about Russ moving forward. And if it doesn't work out, you got a great plan B option in Justin Fields.
If
That's
they
kind of the way
win
I see it.
13 games, Mr. Jack Sperry, I will take you on the field to a Pittsburgh Steeler game where you can hang out with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay. If they win 13 games, you got it. I will take you. I will have field leveled seats where after the game we can go hang out with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay.
Let me just say this. All right. So here's an interesting statistic about the Steelers defense. Okay. Mm-hmm. Over their last 34 regular season games, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense has held their opponents to 22 of those games, giving up 20 or less points. Mm-hmm. All right. So that is significant. That is unbelievable defensive production. All right. So that means if we take those averages, that means there's going to be 11 games where if Russell Wilson, that offense, just scored 21 points, that is below league average, they get to 11 wins. And that's not even counting some of the other games that maybe it's 27-24, maybe it's 24-23. I don't know. But I definitely think that 13 is not completely out of the question. I wouldn't necessarily put it that way. I'd say more 11-12 area, probably a wild card in the AFC. But man, I really do think that with that deep ball that Russell Wilson has, and he still has that arm strength. He had a 65-yard touchdown last year to, I think it was Cortland Sutton in the LA game. So he still has that deep ball, throwing it to George Pickens, the run game, all of it. I think it's a good fit, and I think it's going to work out.
You'd be a good Aladdin, and Russell Wilson would be a good genie. You can rub that lamp, and you'll see Russell Wilson pop out. Here I am. I'd rather Ciara pop out of my lamp. Okay, so if she pops out of my lamp,
I would concur with that, my friend.
Yes. Oh, there you go. So maybe it's Ciara. Maybe it's the love fest for Ciara. That's why he loves Russell Wilson. I don't know, Speedy. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, who knows?
I
At
think
this
it's
point.
Ciara.
I don't know if Ciara's going to have the Taylor Swift impact that it had on the Chiefs.
You know what I'm gonna get? I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to a Pittsburgh Steeler game. I'm gonna have, even though I'm not a Steeler fan, I'll have a Steeler shirt, Ciara on my back, and it's gonna say tits and ass. Russell really loved me. Hey Russ, look at what I got.
See, this is why the Steelers, if they ever have any players with distractions, they would just trade him right away. Unless you're Antonio Brown.
I've got you, babe.
They did it with the Juju. They did it this offseason with Deontay Johnson. Like Jack said before, they fleeced the Bears for the great Chase Claypool, who loves to ruin teams. I don't know. You would know that, Jack. There's I think
we got Joey Porter Jr. out of him. He's a lockdown #1 corner.
Yeah. Think about that. I think Chase Claypool, they had that great 11-0 start that one season. And then I think the 3 teams he's got to combined, I think they've won 2 games.
Yeah, he's absolutely cooked. He's more worried about his fashion stuff in Paris. Let him go wear that stuff, man, because, he's not a football player, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, a lot of these ex-NFL players or NFL players enjoy themselves, as Cam Newton loves his stylish hats and
he loves his hats, man. He really does.
Crocs that he wears, his crocodile, whatever the hell he calls them. I mean, by the way, Cam Newton's an interesting character, by the way. His stupid post, has anybody checked out his podcast recently? That guy is out of his mind. I really believe he has CTE. He must have been hit too many times to the head.
He did get hit quite a bit.
He's lost his damn friggin' mind, man. That guy is nuts. And some of the things that come out of his mouth, I mean, is he sneezing or is taking dumps while he's thinking about it? I mean, the guy's out of his mind. I sometimes wonder if he's actually just trying to stir up something for people to listen to the garbage that comes out of his mouth. Because I would rather sit and listen to some kind of professor talk about, his sex drive than listen to Cam Newton, talk about football and what he thinks the NFL is and what it should be. I mean, the dumb stuff that comes out of that guy's mouth, he is out of his friggin' mind. So shout out to Cam Newton for really giving me something to laugh about every single day.
Good to the Steelers to bring him in 4 years ago when they were interested in him. I ever wanted to back up Big Ben. He has to go to the Patriots. He has the worst arm in the league, according to Jeff.
Don't we love Cam Newton? I did like him on Auburn. Okay, didn't he win a national championship?
He did.
I mean, that was nice. And he went to Carolina and absolutely choked in the Super Bowl. So it's great. It's great to know. But Jack, you're doing great stuff right now, man. And tell the fans how they can find you on social media. We'd love to work with you moving forward when the season starts, even as the off season. Maybe we get a round table for the NFL draft and get some of the best, when it comes to the Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens, get some of a round table of talent of, analysts and YouTubers to come on our show and argue your points on their draft picks and get some information, some inside sources through the great and powerful Pittsburgh voice.
Our Steelers draft guru, our friend Shane Howell, will be coming on actually next week. Jack, I don't know if you follow his content, but he's had mock drafts for 5 years from now, already said.
I'm not familiar with him. I am not.
Yeah, Shane Howell, but he's also, in addition to that, he's a huge draft guy and a big Steelers fan.
If you look him up, he's one of the top 5 when it comes to people following him around the country when it comes to his drafts and stuff like that. He's been dead on some of his drafts 5 years before it even happens. Like he said, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the most talented guy coming out of this draft 6 years ago when he was in high school. So, and I think he is the most talented guy coming out of this draft. So
he might be the best receiver I've ever scouted.
Well, he's fantastic. And
I've been doing it for 7 years, man. There's not a lot of guys that have the size, the route running ability, the ball skills down the field. it's all incredible with Maserati Marv.
Maserati Marv. I like that. Look at that. It's Maserati Marv. You like that, Speedy?
I've heard that nickname before.
I never heard that.
That's not mine. I think that's Joe Klatz.
Okay.
Or Gus Johnson. I can't.
Probably Gus Johnson. I don't trust Joel Klatt to be that
All
creative.
right, so I'm going to change it. Lamborghini Marv. Okay, there we go.
Love it.
I like it. Lamborghini. What do you think?
I think less alliteration, but still not bad.
It's faster.
There's no alliteration. I think that's kind of where he's going with the Maserati there.
That's right.
I
trust Gus Johnson.
Maserati. Screw you, Speedy. What the hell is that all about? You're supposed to
Great
be on my team.
broadcaster. He's a great
You're supposed to be on my team. Damn it!
You could use
Turning
Lamborghini.
on your sergeant.
You could use Lamborghini for somebody that has the last name of L, and they
Look
make
at
it work.
Jack will be my, he'll be my corporal, and you're now my, what do we call him? What would you call? What would you call him, Scoop? No. What do we call Speedy? If Jack's gonna be my corporal, what do we call Speedy? No, he's not my lieutenant. He's dipping, baby. He's dipping. He's a soldier. He's a private. Private. No underwear. Okay. Right.
By the way, to answer your question, you can find me at Jack_Sperry on Twitter. I'm one of the lead NFL draft analysts here at Chat Sports, so big shout out to Chat Sports. Put out a mock draft earlier this week, all 32 picks in the first round. So if you want to check out who you think your favorite team is going to pick, by the way, Errol, I have your Jets taking Brock Bowers, number 10 overall. Not a Brock Bowers guy, I take it.
Are you kidding me? I want to throw up.
But also watch out for them to trade up for Roma Dunze, because I think that is an excellent fit. I think he'd be perfect for Rodgers, and they don't have a ton of roster needs, so they might be looking to be aggressive and trade up. I do think Atlanta might be open to trading down at number 8.
Listen, I'm going to cradle you now. Now I'm loving it. If a Dunze comes to the Jets, I'm going to say, Jack, I'm going to get Speedy to create a graphic. I'm going to put your little head into my arms, and I'm going to cradle you, Jack. And I'm
but Errol, I'll tell you this right now when it comes to Brock Bowers. Okay, Aaron Rodgers got 12 touchdowns out of Robert freaking Tunyon. All right, just imagine what he could do with Brock Bowers roaming the middle of that field. All right, I think that would be a good pairing. But that's just me. All right. If you can't get Roma Dunze in the top 10, I think on draft night, a couple tears will be shed. But once we get the season going and he gets up there to like 14 touchdown range, I think you'll be pretty happy with it.
All right.
A couple tears will be shed, and then there'll still be some Jets fans that are booing.
I'm a believer. I'm a believer, Jack. Just to remember, Jack, you said it. Now, if he isn't what you say he is, I'm coming for you.
Feel free, man. Feel free. I've never claimed to be always right. All right.
Where are you at? You living in Pittsburgh over there?
No, we're in Dallas, Texas. But I am actually I travel to Pittsburgh quite a bit. I'm actually going to go for training camp this year. Went last year for Kenny Pickett and Mitchell Trubisky under center, and I thought the vibes were immaculate. I can't wait to go there this year with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields running out of the tunnel.
Then you can jump into Sierra's arms.
Absolutely. Maybe I'll see Sierra, do a little, I don't know. My girlfriend.
Teach her how to twerk. Teach her how to twerk.
Give her, do a little bit of an exclusive with Sierra on Steelers Talk. How about that?
Listen, I'd love to watch that.
I'd love to talk to her.
I could hook you up, I could probably hook you up.
Please do.
After I hook myself up,
you gotta take care of number 1 there, Errol.
Oh, stop, Jack. I'm going to take care of you, man. I told you, if Brock Bowers actually scores 13, 14 touchdowns,
Tunyon got 12 with Rodgers. If Rodgers is as good as Jets fans are thinking he's going to be,
he's better than Russ Wilson. That's for damn sure.
Maybe he is. I guess we'll have to see.
Well, we love you, man. Keep up the good work. We'll be in touch, man. Definitely.
Yeah. Love to come on anytime.
Absolutely. Jack Sperry, he's fantastic. Go check him out. YouTube page, Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. Fantastic personality. Does some great work, and it looks like he loves the Russ. Speedy, you don't like Russ.
I have no problem with Russ.
You don't like anybody.
I have no problem with Russ. I never did.
You have a lot of rust in your pus.
Rust is the Penguins, not the
But
Steelers.
you have a lot of rust.
Oh, you're Pittsburgh
You
sports.
have a lot of rust. Listen, I know my Pittsburgh. Don't get me started with Pittsburgh. As far as the Penguins are concerned, I played against Sidney Crosby when he was 12 years old. That piece of you know what. Oh man, he's a big pain in the ass then. He's a big pain in the ass now. But Jack, thank you. Really, seriously, keep up the good work. We'll be in touch. You do so much great work. You do a lot of great work on YouTube. I've checked out your stuff. When Speedy told me we were going to have you on, you're doing great stuff, and we'll be in touch. Absolutely.
Hey, next time I want to come on, talk NFL draft. I want to go over the QBs. I got some interesting takes on the QBs.
All right.
Speedy, get him on.
All right.
Wait a couple of weeks. We'll get you on.
All right.
Perfect, guys. I'll catch you guys later.
Jack Sperry. Fantastic. What did you think, Scoops?
I liked him a lot.
You liked? I liked him. I like him too. First time on the show, Speedy. I'm a little lost with you, Speedy. I mean, how could you take somebody else's side over mine?
I like the nickname of
Shut his
Maserati
mic
Marv.
off because it's a little. We got to fix up the sound. Maserati Marv. It's Lamborghini Marv. Lamborghini. I would rather a Lamborghini than a Maserati. Have you ever checked out a Maserati?
I've seen them before, yes. And
You've seen them. Have you ever been in one?
No, I haven't been in one.
So how
What do you
could
think?
you
I know a billionaire?
I've been in Maserati.
Yeah. You've also DJ'd with all these guys.
Okay, so I've been in a Maserati. Why would
Okay.
you call him Lamborghini Marv?
Yes. Thank you, Fish, for bringing up a good point. I think Lamborghini's need a break after Rasheed Rice. That is a great comment.
Screw you, Fish. Now, what the hell is this? What is this, like a tag team? We have Jack against me. We have the Speedster against me. We have Fish. The only person on my side is my co-defendant over here, Mr. Scoops. What the hell is that? What the hell is that? Oh, that's pretty funny, Fish.
Uh-oh. Is Chad's getting in negotiations with Shohei Ohtani's translator? Is that the vibe we're getting here?
What is that, Sierra over there by my crotch?
Sarah by the crotch, the Japanese toilets, and Chaz involved with some kind of involvement with Ipe Mazahura.
What's
Yes, Shohei, let's parlay.
What happened to my soundboard here? I mean, come on. I wanted to show Jack some of our nice sounds. I mean, here. What was that?
Yes. You're not naming them that. Scoops, this is your top soundboard performance so far.
I don't drink a lot of milk.
The funny thing about you, Speedy, you got some good takes. You really do. I mean,
I never heard of a skin flute. Maybe it's in a Maserati. Who knows?
Well, you spread those cheeks. You put a little bit of, peanut butter in it, and your dog Jack will be looking for it.
Jake.
Jake, there. That's what I meant.
And also, I'm not gonna put
a crab.
I mean, does your dog like peanut butter?
I would think so. I don't know.
So if you put it, I mean, he likes your sweat. So why wouldn't he like your peanut butter?
Because I don't organically grow peanut butter in my body.
Well,
Unnecessary physical contact. Also, just scientifically impossible.
Well, it's not scientifically impossible. Anything's possible, Speedy. You know this.
Not naturally. You'd have to actually put peanut butter in your body physically, and then try to.
So you wouldn't try to put peanut butter in your ass?
No, I wouldn't.
Thank you, Scoops. Scoops is on point tonight.
I mean, you actually let your dog, put his nose between your legs.
Yeah, let is the wrong word, but if you just want to keep believing that, like people believe that pigs fly, then you can do that.
Well, pigs do fly. I mean, in your dreams, right?
In your dreams, just like in your dreams, all these other scenarios could happen.
There's a lot of scenarios that could happen in this world, and Speedy, you should know that. You've been on the show for 5 years. You know I'm a little bit out there with my.
Thank you. I know that.
We don't need Speedy anymore. We got a soundboard of his craziness.
Oh yeah, Scoops is on point tonight.
What are you on point with?
Not any of that. That's for sure.
Have you ever rubbed one out?
I have no idea.
You've never rubbed one out?
I have no idea.
You've never tried to rub one out?
Clearly not.
That's interesting. I mean, but it's good. It's a good feeling, you know.
Okay.
Right?
I'm glad you enjoyed your rubbing out experience.
Do you think that Russ rubbed one out before?
Probably.
You've never done it, but you think Russ has done it?
Sure.
Why? Why do you think Russell Wilson has rubbed one out?
Because he's a popular football player, allegedly.
Oh, so because he's popular, he can rub one out?
He probably had a better chance, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good take. He probably had a better chance. What do you think about that, Fish?
Well, Fish, I'm going to bring you in now. I just want you to say your comment was good, though. Involving Tim Tebow into this, it might be another interesting thing.
Well, you know what? Well, it's crazy. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying you're not alone in this, Speedy. I'm pretty sure Tebow's never done that either. He's a man of God.
Tebow is
probably
for
different reasons, though.
He's a Christian man. I mean, I don't think a guy like Tebow would actually do that. But, Speedy, if he actually learned how to do it, I think Speedy would be doing it every single, 6 times, 7 times a day.
I don't drink a lot of milk. No, I definitely don't do that.
Jack, it's crazy. We've had a lot of interesting people. Jack's never been on our show. And I'm sure, I loved his takes about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I did. And I'm not a big Russ fan, as everybody knows. I never was a big Russell Wilson fan. He has obviously his thoughts about Russ. I think Justin Fields is a better fit for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And what's an interesting take that he said that I'm interested to see is that they don't believe Justin Fields is their future, which is interesting because you gave up a 6th-round draft. You didn't give up anything for him. And he's a quality quarterback that was drafted a couple of years ago in the top 15. And I think that out of all the quarterbacks in Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson, all those quarterbacks that came out of that class, I really believe that Justin Fields is the best quarterback that came out of that class and has the best chance to succeed in the NFL. So the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers, or what Jack was saying, that the Pittsburgh Steelers they don't look at him as the future quarterback of their organization is very interesting.
Yeah, you wonder if they would have gambled on the value that they was expecting to get out of it. Maybe they wouldn't.
And then his
Steelers are not that kind of team. Yeah.
Yeah. The percentages too, that, he was giving us the defensive percentages of the Pittsburgh Steelers was very interesting too.
Yep.
I didn't know that. I mean, obviously I'm not a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, but interesting statistics that make a lot of sense. And if Russ could put up 21 points a game, which can he? I mean, seriously, he was on a team that had pretty, they weren't a bad team. They had some weapons last year with Denver, and he couldn't put up those numbers last year with the Denver Broncos. Now, he didn't throw that many interceptions. He still threw over 30 touchdowns, right? I think it was 28 touchdowns.
It was like 26 touchdowns, but he still had over 3,000 passing yards. And I think that was 11th or 10th in the league last year or something like that. And his production was good under Sean Payton from a football standpoint.
He had some weapons there, too.
Yeah.
So
the year before was when he really struggled, and the defense really carried them most of the season.
That's interesting.
Because I think he only had 13 touchdowns that year and like 16 interceptions. It was the Nathaniel Hackett era. So that was all different.
Oh, stop. I mean, Sean Payton took shots at Nathaniel Hackett. I think everything that we've seen, and I love Mike Tomlin. I think this could be the last year for Mike Tomlin. I do not believe he will re-sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And not because I don't think that he wants to stay in Pittsburgh. I think he wants to retire. I think he wants to step away from the game. He's been there for how many years as an assistant and now as a head coach. I think he's had winning season after winning season after winning season. I think he'd like to step down and spend some time with his family, at least for a year or two. And then if he wants to come back, but we've seen another Pittsburgh Steelers coach decide to step away and never came back. So
Bill Cowher.
Yeah. So,
Tomlin, just is going to be a Hall of Fame coach. I think it's around 17 years where he hasn't had a losing record. I mean, that's unbelievable. Obviously, Super Bowl as well. I think you got to give Russ the first shot, even if Fields is better, and they have to say it publicly. The guy is going to go to the Hall of Fame. He has the counting stats, Russell Wilson. He's going to have a couple of more years of getting those stats wherever he ends up. You have to give him the first shot at it, and you got to say it publicly that he's the guy. However, as you know, Fields is a tremendous athlete. Now, Russell, I don't want to write him off because he did have that finger injury. It took him a while to get back. He changed teams, horrible offense, all those things. Sean Payton and him didn't get along. But, you know, I was thinking about how for
I'm
me,
sorry
coaching
to cut you off. Speedy, are you reading this fat idiot opening his big fat mouth?
Well, now he's calling. Do you want to take it or no?
Honestly, you know what? Put him through because I never said Russell Wilson was a top 5 quarterback last year.
All right, Jeff.
Never did.
All right, Jeff.
Never did, Jeff. Don't open your fat mouth and say something that didn't come out of mine. You like to put words in my mouth that never came out of my mouth. Don't ever do that. Don't come on this show and put something in my mouth. Don't put something in my mouth. Don't put anything in my mouth. Don't put it. You like to put things in your mouth. Don't put anything in mine.
Go off on your rant because it was Keith that said it, not me. Learn how to read.
I never said Russell Wilson last year ever said he was a top 5 quarterback in the league.
Go off on your rant. Go off on your rant because that was Keith who wrote that, not me.
Really? That's not what I'm reading over here.
Go and read it.
Yeah, no, it is Keith. He's right. Jeff.
Oh, that's right. I'm right.
Jeff just
That's
responded.
right. I'm right. That's right. I'm right.
So what are you calling for, Jeff?
So how long? Right. I got it. Russell Wilson's going to start. But how long is the leash if he looks like last year's Denver Russell Wilson? Like, if he starts off and he sucks, which he does, he sucks, right? Like, how long do they let him suck? 5 weeks? 6 weeks?
Probably. Yeah.
Did he suck, though?
I don't think he should
him
start.
sucking.
I don't think he should start.
He's a starter in the league. Like, he could. I mean, that just tells you where the state of quarterbacking is. that Russell Wilson is still a starter in the league because he sucks. Like, he really sucks. But
if you were Mike Tomlin right now, who do you start? Russell Wilson.
No, I start Russell Wilson.
You would start Russell Wilson? I wouldn't.
No, I would start Russell Wilson because the thing for me with Justin Fields is his next stop, his next start, and I meant his next stop, like where he plays next, is the most important, right? That makes or breaks his career. And I want to make sure that Justin Fields is settling, knows like a brand new offense. Like Russell Wilson's a veteran. He can handle a brand new offense. He can handle all that stuff thrown at him. Maybe Justin Fields needs some time to adapt. So I start Russell Wilson and let Justin Fields work into it.
Yeah, and I think I know Jack was saying that the Steelers don't see him long term, but I mean, I think the scenario still has to be out there for him not to get hurt either, which being a dual threat quarterback definitely could be. And it would take, like you were saying, Fish, it would take him to play really bad or something for it to be that quick into the season.
You know, they're just going to give him a package Fields that is, you know, while Russell, you know, runs the offense. If they I think what they have to do is make Russell the quarterback he was his first few years in the league, not this open it up offense that Payton wanted, not the let Russ cook days at the, you know, when he was doing too much in Seattle and they weren't successful, but the play action guy, right? The one that's focused on the Marshawn Lynch running game. Now you got Najee. I don't know if Najee Harris is the answer over there. You got Warren as well. You know, the line is middling. 10th in pass blocking, 17th in run blocking this past year. Yeah, if I'm the Steelers, you know, if you're not putting it on defense, you're going to beef up the line on the inside to make sure that you can run the ball and get good play actions with Russ. And then, you know, you can do your gadget stuff with Fields. And, you know, if Fields outplays him, even better.
I think I think whoever plays better at, you know, obviously OTAs and knows the offense and learns the offense as fast as, you know, because Russ doesn't know the offense. I mean, obviously he knows the play action and all that other stuff. And it's going to work in his favor. As you heard Jack Sperry come out and say that this is an offense that it would work with Russell Wilson, but I think it will work with Justin Fields too. I believe he's built like an ox. He can run fast. He can throw a deep pass. He has weapons now. And I think the running game that they have, I do not believe Chicago Bears had the running game that the Pittsburgh Steelers have this year. I think it opens up so many possibilities for Justin Fields, even more than Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson could cause a lot of problems in that locker room. I think his personality is very strong. All he has to say is something wrong to the wrong player. It can cause a bunch of stuff. We've seen what happened in with the Steelers locker room when Antonio Brown was there and Juju Smith-Schuster was there and Le'Veon Bell was there. Mike Tomlin couldn't stand it, and he got rid of him. And somebody like Russell Wilson, you're the quarterback of the team. The only person that Mike Tomlin dealt with over the years was Ben Roethlisberger, and that's because Ben was the face of the organization. He was everything to the organization, and Ben didn't get along with people too on and off the field. There were many people, many players that have worked and played with Ben Roethlisberger that said he was an ass. Antonio Brown couldn't stand him. Le'Veon Bell can't stand him. Juju Smith-Schuster couldn't stand him. Even some of the defensive players couldn't stand him. So, but they respected him because he was a Hall of Fame quarterback. And so did Mike Tomlin too. He inherited Ben Roethlisberger from Bill, and he had to deal with him for all those years, but he won a Super Bowl with him, and that's all that matters. So,
but all the things that you're mentioning, Justin Fields strong as an ox, he can throw. Those are all great physical attributes, and no doubt he's better at probably all of those things currently than Russell Wilson. But all of those weren't his problem. His problem was his reads and his progressions, and learning a whole new offense. Just because you're strong doesn't mean you can read. I mean, you know how that goes, Errol, right? You're strong but still can't read.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's hard
figure that one out
for to put a guy in a new offense and think that he's going to know the progressions, because in Chicago he was a one read guy and then pulled the ball down and tried to run.
Who was his offensive coordinator over the last couple of years over there in Chicago? Who was his coach for the last couple of years in Chicago?
Eberflus.
Okay, and what is he? Is he an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator?
Who I have no idea.
Defense.
He's a defensive coordinator. Who was their offensive coordinator for the last 3 years with Justin
They
Fields?
all have quarterback coaches.
Who?
They all have offensive coordinators.
Who is
they all
it?
have
Luke Getsy.
Who is
now with
he?
the Raiders.
Who is he, Speedy?
Who's now with the Raiders.
Mention the name again.
Luke Getsy.
I rest my case. He's had nobody there coaching him, no good offensive coordinator. Now he has Arthur Smith there. Arthur Smith, who's a good offensive mind, a good offensive coordinator, and now they have a running game, people that can run behind him, where you don't have to use him in all running plays. You can use a play action with him. You could do so many different things with a guy like Justin Fields.
But that has nothing to do with him dropping back and being a one-read quarterback and then panicking, like handing the ball off. You know it's a running play. Okay, I'm going to hand it off. Okay, he doesn't need to panic. The problem is he panics after one read and then tries to pull the ball down and run.
Okay, and there's another player that's won MVPs in the NFL for in the last 7 years that are like that too, and Lamar Jackson.
But those don't matter. MVP doesn't matter.
They don't. But you're mentioning a player, and by the way, Lamar Jackson's with a great organization, with an organization that knows how to win. Chicago hasn't been a winning organization in about 20 years. Okay, they're terrible. They're a crap organization. Now he's going to the Pittsburgh Steelers, a winning organization that has had winning seasons for 12 years in a row? I mean, honestly, I think you're better off going with Justin Fields. I would take a chance more with Justin Fields because players actually like him. To Russell Wilson, where everybody can't stand the idiot. So I understand, and Jack Sperry loves him.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, popularity matters, like, for sure. Like, it helps when people like you in the huddle. Like, I get that. But that also still doesn't change the fact that after one read, he would pull the ball down and try to run. Like, he needs to learn the offense so he'll have confidence to stay in the pocket and go through more than one progression and before he panics.
Jeff, I know you played sports, and I know you're a semi-pro, you're a golfer and all that other stuff. And you know that if you have the right teachers, you have the right coaches around you, you will succeed, right? Am I right about that?
No, you're not always right about that, because there's coaching does help, right? Coaching does help. But just because you have good coaches around you doesn't stop you from being a mental midget. And if you have that panic within you, if that's just in you, if that lives there inside and you're just a panicky, I can't get it, I'm going to panic. There's no getting rid of that. There's no amount of coaching that can get rid of that.
When was
Right.
Justin Fields afraid of getting hit? I mean, the guy
all the time in Chicago. That's why he went. That's why after one read, if it wasn't there, he pulled it down and ran.
He was.
It's not because he's afraid, Jeff. Like, look, he's a college. This is one of the things they used to say like 5-10 years ago about the college quarterbacks and how they played with the half field system where they only had to read half of the field. So he only had to read 1 to 2, and if 3 receivers on the side, 1 to 2 to 3, without having to change his vision from the window that he's looking at. So that, of course, with the NFL, with all the different defenses, it's a lot harder. So he's not making 1 read. He really making 2 reads and running, which isn't good enough. You're absolutely right. But to say that he's afraid, no, he just doesn't have his eye level looking up while he's on the move. Now, a good coach can teach you how to do that. And if he's going to be the bench guy,
whether it's he doesn't want to get hit or the other one, he doesn't want to make a negative play. He's scared back there, either scared of getting yelled at by his coach for making a mistake or scared of getting hit. Either way, it's a
I don't see that at all.
I don't see it at all either. I think he's for what he's had on that team for the last couple of years. Yes, he had DJ Moore, and last year they had more weapons than he ever had. But a team that could not stay healthy in every count of the ability, especially their defense fell apart all season long. They could not stay healthy. The secondary was putrid. So I'm not going to blame Justin Fields. And he had Eberflus as his head coach, who's an idiot. Okay, I don't even know how he kept his job. I do not know how Eberflus kept his job after the season that he had last year. But that just says a lot about the Chicago Bears and the organization. They're a bunch of idiots over there. And they gave Justin Fields up for a 6th-round draft pick. I think it's a steal. And I'm going to tell you this right now. He is going to prove himself at OTAs and during preseason games. He's going to win that job from Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson is washed. I don't think he's the same player he was 3-4 years ago when he had his thumb. And I think Justin Fields is the future quarterback and starting quarterback for that Pittsburgh Steelers team. They got him for a 6th-round draft pick. What a steal by the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm going to tell you that right now.
And not for nothing, and I agree with you on some level that Pittsburgh is a winning organization, but you're also not going after them at all, by the way, like not at all, for being morons. Like they themselves just drafted a quarterback in the 1st round that they sold for like a 6th-round pick. How is that not one of the most horrible organizational decisions you can make?
Well, look, everyone knew the quarterbacks weren't going to be good.
Also, look at the bright side. You gave up the quarterback you drafted in the 1st round for a 6th-round draft pick, and then you traded for a quarterback for a 6th-round draft pick, who's a lot better than that quarterback.
They traded Kenny Pickett for Justin Fields.
That's it. It was worth it.
And it's a coin flip whether it works. It may work. It may not work out. But also, you just wasted your 1st-round draft pick on someone you just shipped away. If it were any other team, you'd be crapping on.
No, I have not crapped on the Jets with the whole Zach Wilson thing, even though I think Zach Wilson stinks.
I remember a quarterback that got drafted really high, just like Justin Fields, maybe even the same position, and he only lasted 1 season. And when he left that place, you crapped all over the organization, and now you won't do it.
Who are you talking about?
Arizona?
Yeah, Josh Rosen.
Josh Rosen, that was Speedy's guy. I was the Sam Darnold guy. So
I'll be honest, I'll own it. I like Josh Rosen coming out of college. The dude could throw the ball downfield. Like Arizona was a disaster that year, but it doesn't change the fact that you crapped all over Arizona when they drafted a guy. Was he 8th or 9th?
10th overall. They had to trade up to get him. Yeah,
he was the one crying after the fact, saying that every single team's going to regret not drafting him. Okay, he was the one that came out and said that.
Everyone's going to say
and what's he doing right now? I don't know. He's hanging on his family's ranch.
Insurance, probably. But
hanging on his family's ranch. Oh, God.
I so wanted him to be good because of him being Jewish. There aren't really any Jewish quarterbacks or that many players. I was like, I think it's one of those things where you like really want someone to be good and you like trick yourself into it. So bad. I was the same way with them, Speedy. I was really hoping Rosen was going to be good. Chosen Rosen. Didn't happen.
I liked his arm talent a lot at the time, and now
the dude can throw it downfield.
Yeah,
like there's no doubt he could throw it. Like there's no doubt, but like he just wasn't a good quarterback. Like that's just one of those cases that like, and you're going to see more of it in this draft, I'm sure. Like let's see who it is, but someone's going to be coming out in this draft, and everyone's going to go, "Oh, I love that guy," and he's going to suck.
All right, Jeff. Thanks for calling.
Remember the guy that you love, Kellen Mond? Kellen Mond could be the best quarterback in the draft. What's Kellen Mond doing?
Playing with himself, probably with you, hanging out with you in your back room.
Him and Josh Rosen
swimming in your bottom
the same
swimming
insurance
pool.
company.
Goodbye, Jeff.
Like, they're terrible.
Goodbye, Jeff.
You know?
Goodbye, Jeff. Jesus. Jesus.
Oh, the Calamont. That one's going way back.
It is Jeff. It's what Jeff does best. I mean, we should call a segment Jeff does best. You know, it would be perfect for this show. Listening to Jeff. The snug has like his head up Jeff's ass or something, sniffing his ass. Jeff equals goat. Yeah. Goat balls.
Oh, God. And now you're back to that. Oh, my God.
2 for the price of 1. There's Jeff. He's popped right in.
Of course, that had to come back into existence.
Anyways, that's it for a show. By the way, Fish, we'll get you more involved next week. I just want to let you know. Sorry, It was a little busy show. Thank you to.
Sorry, I was busy.
Yeah. Well, I want to get you more involved with the show. So, Speedy, are you busy? Oh, there it is. There it is, Speedy. There it is. You're hanging out.
Kind of took a while.
Oh yeah. That's a Jeff.
Did you get my teacher joke here in the middle though?
Yes, I did. I did.
All right.
I did. It was very funny.
Very
it's
good.
Now, all you got to do is get Jeff's face in the toilet. Well, that would be funny. Put that. Add that a little bit. Put Jeff's face in the toilet. That would be perfect. It would be great. It would be a great sell for all the fans out there to see Jeff's, getting washed around over there in that toilet. Anyways,
the new pool.
Yes, the new pool. His new swimming pool. Oh man. Anyways, thank you to Eddie Lack, ex-NHL player, 6-year NHL vet, Arizona State goalie coach. So thank you. How about the bet? He wants to still make this $5,000 bet. Yeah. By the way, thank you to Jack Sperry for joining us as well. Steelers analyst. He was fantastic as well for giving us the time. Thank you to all the fans. Listen to us every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Tune in to the Weekend Crunch on Saturday. Tonight, what do we have on Saturday?
Late night again with the New York Islanders.
So we're going to be doing the pregame show?
We're doing the pregame show. They're playing Nashville at 7:30, so we'll be on after that around 10.
So we'll be doing the Islander pregame show on 103.9 FM. If you live here on Long Island, you can check us out. Yeah, I'm scared, Jeff. Far from scared, Jeff. Listen, I know you love to you try to challenge me and try to do that, but guess what, Jeff? I actually pay up on my bets. So until I see you do that, we will work from there. Anyways, thank you to all the fans as well. And keep listening to us. We will be around for the next century. Thank you to Fish for giving us great content as always. You're fantastic. Thank you to Scoops for doing what you do best with our Sports Minute. And again, Speedy, thank you as always, being a great co-host.
Jeff, we're trying to end the show.
No matter what he says,
we're not.
No matter what he
call again.
You know what? You know what I would say to Jeff if I really wanted to speak to him? I tell him to kiss my ass. That's what I tell him to do. Maybe I should pull down my pants right now and show people what my ass looks like. What do you think, Speedy?
I don't care to see that, but you could do that on your own time.
It would be funny, actually.
All right, you go do that on your own time.
You can take a picture of it.
I'm not involved in this.
Anyways, thank you to all the fans. Keep listening to us. Tune in. Over 100,000 downloads on Apple Podcasts. Over almost now 50,000 downloads on Spotify. What do we have on YouTube? Our new YouTube channel. It's 2 months old. Got to be about 220 subscribers and many viewers. So thank you for all the fans. Keep tuning in. Keep listening to us. Keep, supporting what we do best. And that's entertain you guys. I am tired, man. 48 hours, no sleep. I am a zombie. And I don't even know how I get through these shows, man. I really don't know how I get through these shows, but whatever. It is what it is. Anyways, good night.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.